shoes. Recorded live.
Hi, everybody. It's July the 5th, Thursday. It's time for our call. We don't have anyone scheduled tonight. It's going to be open discussion, and hopefully you'll all openly discuss what's going on and what's interesting and update us on what's new, I guess. Anybody want to join in the conversation? Please press star 8 and I will unmute you if you're not already unmuted. And anybody else? Those of you on the chat? Let's see here. Lots of stuff going on in the chat room. We've got a new person that has joined us. Awesomely Humble. Welcome. Why don't you call in? Do you have a headset? You can use TalkShoe phone, whatever it's called. If anybody has something to tell us about, press star 8. And otherwise I might dig into that article on Robert Fox. It's Cherokee County, Texas. This article says the official site on corruption. So I guess they archive all the corruption that goes on in Cherokee County, Texas. Looks like Robert Fox was getting a judge to recuse himself. Apparently, they're all related here in this Cherokee. They call it sentencing delayed in Robert Fox tampering with a government record retrial. Robert Fox and his defense attorney have filed a motion to remove Second Judicial District Judge Dwight Pfeiffer due to conflicts of interest. Judge Pfeiffer officiated the wedding for the son of one of Fox's witnesses, who the District Court and Cherokee County Sheriff's Department refused to subpoena. The April 2011 marriage took place in a Jacksonville restaurant owned by the individual Fox claims was the impetus for the multiple SWAT-style raids on the House of Israel. During his original trial in 2011, Fox had made multiple attempts to serve the Jacksonville resident named in a civil tort action, but was told she was unavailable by the district court. He attempted again this year to call her to the retrial, only to have his request denied. Now we know why. Fox was found guilty of state tampering at his April 2012 retrial, and his sentencing has been postponed as Administrative Judge John Ovard reviews his motion to recuse. Cherokee County's ingrained pattern of duplicitous behavior by judges and prosecutors is only the tip of the iceberg of the absolute familial corruption running the place. Well, I like this writer. He's very colorful. The Cherokee County District Attorney, Sheriff, and District Judges have worked together to hide Robert Fox's key witnesses in attempts to keep their collective involvement off the record. Isn't that interesting? And these people are just, Robert Fox and his attorneys had made multiple requests to call local witnesses, only to be stifled by Cherokee County law enforcement, who refused to serve subpoenas. Barratry and Bilge. Robert Fox was arrested 3 times in 2008 after multiple raids on the House of Israel property in downtown Jacksonville, Texas. He was charged with possession of controlled substances and 2 counts of barratry, litigation for harassment, and escalating attempts to incarcerate him after he filed an intent to sue against the Jacksonville Police Department. Jacksonville Detective Jason Price, who headed the multiple raids and press conferences, told those willing to listen that Fox was a dangerous fugitive with ties to Timothy McVeigh and the Taliban. Holy moly, these lying sons of bitches. You know, it's not surprising, really. They stoop so low, it's just unbelievable. During the last few months, we have been continuing the investigation, he said, shoring up the case against him and getting it ready for prosecution. I'm confident that we have a grade A case against him at this point with some teeth and a lot of meat to it, Price said. That was in December of 2008. What a shithead. Excuse my French. These lying bastards, you know. All alleged Barratry charges against Fox were dismissed by the same administrative judge hearing his latest motions, and Fox was found not guilty of possession of expired dental products. Despite the waste of taxpayer time, money, and effort to frame Fox, the Cherokee County District Attorney charged him with tampering with a government record for filing a civil complaint heard on the federal U.S. Eastern District docket, a complaint that the district attorney and others were forced to answer to. As they have collectively dragged out for years these bogus cases against Robert Fox, they have all mingled with local witnesses and planted the jury panels with their in-laws. That is your tax dollars at work. Cherokee County. That's the end of the article. Alrighty. So that's I don't know if anyone has heard from him, you know, that'd be great. SPCPJ7. I guess the no-namer guests here are blocked. Hee hee hee. So now I'm uncloaked. I feel so naked. I logged in first as a no-name guest. Andy's playing hardball. Yeah, well, you know, it's easier when you do it this way. If you have a membership to TalkShoe and you have your ID, you're free to be on, unless you start saying four-letter words or calling people names. I did post it. I did post the article. I'll post it again for you. There you go. Oh, thank you, Larry. So, does anybody else want to talk besides me? If you know how Robert Fox is doing, or if you've spoken to him recently. I know he went to court the other day, and I went on Dave's call to find out if he had an update, because I know he went, and he didn't answer me, but he didn't see me in the chat, I guess, but someone in the chat said, listen to the archive of this call, the first 5 minutes. So I did. I listened to the first hour, and I didn't hear anything said about Robert Fox, but I would like to know if anyone's heard anything. Unblock Uzi. Oh, Rocco, baby, I'm coming. And I'll unmute you right now. As soon as I can find you. There you are.
All right.
There you go.
Right. Thank you.
Hi, Rocco.
Hey. How's it going?
Fine, thanks. I know you did a week in the Slammer recently.
Yes, I did.
Damn. You want to tell us how you did? Did you do
Sure.
good, honey? Well, you're out, so you must have done okay, right?
I did good. It was just totally bizarre what had happened. I have a 3-year-old case, or the name is a 3-year-old case, probation assigned to the name, and 2 states involved, Wisconsin and Illinois. Probation was transferred, immediately from Wisconsin to Illinois. So now we're, 3 years into this, and halfway through probation, and this PO, probation officer, decides, she wants to talk to me. And this was just a compounded error of a miscommunication. Stuff would be put into an envelope from Wisconsin, sent to Illinois, and then I would, autograph it, mark it, sign it, whatever, send it back. And so there was a breakdown in communication. A social worker took over another social worker's job, but that flow, that correspondence got cut short because of this error. Somebody didn't get a memo, and then this just went right to the PO, and the PO thought she'd flex her muscles and tell me she wanted to talk to me, otherwise there's going to be a warrant for the arrest. So, I felt like something was up, so I brought a friend, and sure enough, the probation officer in Illinois, he was clueless. He was like, I didn't hear anything. I don't know what's going on. So there's all these issues that are being raised, all these legal questions. It's like a minefield now. So I go in there, I get popped, boom. I'm instantly cuffed, brought into custody, and to just move the story along, next thing you know, I'm at booking, right? This is where all the fun began. They said, we're going to book you, and all I said was, I object. And the moment I said I object, that's when, things turned, went to the dark side. Four correctional officers escorted me, by force, Oh, I forgot to say this. As I was going along with the cop, I'd say, do you have a claim against me? And I'd stop, and he push me, and he's like, what do you mean a claim, I go, by what authority are you arresting me? And, you better do this, or I'm going to, I'm like, are you threatening me? And it was classic Gordon Hall stuff, So.
Gordon Hall would have said, present the original charging instrument.
Right.
Signature.
Do you have the original charging instrument ready for my inspection? And he's like, what is that? What do you mean? You're doing this against my will. I've been arresting people for 15 years against their will. So what is that? Some Illinois talk? This cop obviously was not familiar with commerce and principles.
No, he's familiar. They know. They just don't play along. They just don't. They play dumb. It's easier.
So
deniability, isn't it? What do they call that?
Plausible denial.
There you go.
They can always fall back on that. I didn't know. So fast forwarding again to the four thugs, four correctional officers. Sorry, they're not thugs yet. They basically pushed me into a holding room, secure room, steel door, glass, reinforced, and there's a concrete bench and there's a wall. I was pushed forward with my legs before the bench, so now my shoulder and my cheek, I got my side turned. I'm arched. I'm over. I'm kissing the wall here, and they're like, needle. And I'm thinking, boy, that sounds just like the Gestapo, And I'm just saying, I'm hurting. I got a rod in my back. As soon as I said that, somebody knocked out my legs behind me and just rode me down, body slammed me, just grabbing the cuffs, cranking them so hard and pushing them up my back. And then another officer held my face down into the bench, and then my ankles were brought up to my wrists, like classic hog-tied position. They took off my shoes, my socks, and my pants. So they left me there in my Carhartt T-shirt and my, my briefs, my South Park briefs. So there we go. And so I sat there, and I said, okay, you guys hurt me here, and I decided to, go with that. They came in and they said, well, we're going to move you. Get up. I said, I can't move. I hurt. And then they just, another four officers grabbed me by the wrists and just dragged me to another cell. And that was Friday the 22nd. And then I sat in there until Monday the 25th. And during all this time, they would just come to the door. You ready to be booked? And I was refusing meals. I was there's another story that goes on that's connected to that. I'll go into that later at some point. But they were just trying to bribe. What's that?
They're sadists.
Sadists, right.
Yeah,
they would
they
just
get off on hurting people. They wear the badge, and they, it makes them feel like they got a big schlong or something, when they beat up people.
Oh yeah. And I'm told I'm a big guy. I mean, I would say that I'm 6'4", I'm 300 pounds, I'm like a linebacker. And so all during this time, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, hey, would you like to, we can get you upstairs. Everybody tried. Just come on, we'll book you, we'll give you something to eat, everything, we'll give you a blanket. And I'm on the concrete floor for 4 days saying, nope, ain't gonna happen. And I'm still in my shirt and my boxers. So on the fourth day, they come in and throw some their blues, the uniform, if you wear inmate apparel. They throw a pile of that down and say, get into that. And I'm thinking, I can't get into it. I'm hurting too much. And then a correctional officer had in her hand a bunch of these white covers. And I'm like, what's that? And these covers started going over the glass in the whole jail, all the other windows that all the other inmates. So I'm thinking, could look out of. So now they were doing like a blackout, a total blackout where they're going to hide.
Shades.
Yeah, they're going to hide. They want no witnesses. They're going to hide the activities that are following. I'm like, oh, great. This is it.
Man.
I knew it. I said, the hurt is on. It's coming. And I'm trying to ready myself. Well, what can I do? I just sat there and just took it. So they roll in. They just grabbed me, handcuffed me. Then they just went right to it. They hoisted me up. Two guys by my handcuffs. I swear my handcuffs were, just up my back into my shoulder blades. And they were like up and down, they would throw me up, then catch me by the cuffs, so the full weight of my body would, my wrist would just go further and further up my back, and I'm just yelling, you're torturing me, that's all I could do, over and over and over, and I just said that over and yelled at top of my lungs, and just, all that was just causing tremendous pain. It was like those cuffs were raking my forearms, just back and forth. If you can imagine, 300 pounds of pressure, on each, or whatever, 150 on each arm, equally distributed, causing all that discomfort and pain. And then they bent me over onto a concrete, bench, and my head, and I'm thinking, did they look up my past injuries because I had a broken neck? And it's like they knew right where to put the pain. They went right to it, like skilled surgeons, skilled torturers.
Yes, they're sadists.
Then they put the full weight of my body up. They lifted me up again, by the cuffs behind my back, burying my neck was now my neck was burying all that weight. And at this point, I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't even. The pain was really in my arms and my neck, and I didn't know what else was going on because the tale later, the evidence suggests I have marks all over my body, and I'm like, I don't know how they got there. I just know that they put them there, So anyway, they said, get up and walk, and all I said was, you're torturing me. Then they gave up, and then they threw me, they slammed me in a wheelchair. And when they put me in a wheelchair, they didn't line me up, so I was like half in, half out. So I got marks to indicate that on my body. So they threw me in a wheelchair, put me up, took me up to the I forget, third floor or something, and put me in this what they call X block or SAG or the hole, and put me down a narrow corridor where a correctional officer grabbed my cuffed wrists and my shirt like a bale of hay, like you'd grab a bale of hay. Left hand on cuffs, right hand on the back of my neck, my shirt, and then he hoisted me up in the standing position into the room, let go of the cuffs, and then So the full body weight is leaning forward on the shirt as the shirt is ripping, stretching, tearing, and I'm thinking, when's this shirt going to give out? And it like lowered me, and then, but the last foot was just a drop to the floor, a straight dead drop. Wham! And then two officers, one pulled off the shirt, one pulled off the brief, so they leave me there naked, bleeding on the floor. I see this drop of blood, and I realize I put my hand back, and it comes back bloody, and those cuffs were just, raking my back. Now, I mean, there's cuts, and it's all documented. I have two witnesses in lockup, and so that's it. That's what happened, basically. And, initially, and then I just waited it out. The PO didn't know what to do because I wasn't booked, so they kept telling me, I wasn't there. You're not here. You're not booked. We can't give you anything. You can't. They made a big mistake by moving me, because then they threw me in segregation. That's like reserved for people with capital offenses or felony whatever convictions that have been through the system have been adjudicated. So there's a lot of things. They wouldn't let me shower. They denied me a bunch of things. They gave me absolutely nothing. So. Finally, it was like
they treated you so badly,
Yeah, it was like a pissing contest between me and the PO, and then finally I pulled myself up in the wheelchair. They were just playing games with me. They just got off on their cruel little mental games. Your PO's your and I said, I need a wheelchair. Oh, that's a visitor refused, or you refused. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And they shut the door and then come back 20 minutes later. They were just trying to mess with my head. I'm like, it's not working, pal. So they didn't know what to do with me. So, because the PO, and get this, she made this decision. The station officer made this decision to put a hold on me. I didn't see a judge. It was not brought before a magistrate. No adjudication happened. And, when I'm talking to her, she was saying, well, you didn't go to court, and we didn't get paperwork. I said, number one, I wasn't notified of any court. You guys send me stuff through the mail, and obviously you guys had an internal breakdown with your social workers. That's not my problem. And then right off, she says, well, I'm going to take their word over yours. I'm like, really? and then, you see.
Where'd you go? Are you still there? I think we lost you. Oh, my. Yeah, we lost him. Rocco, come back. I don't know what happened. Oh, well. Yeah, well, we can't hear you. You lost, you're back on the chat room, but you're not on the phone. Did your battery die? Oh, okay. Let me find you. There you are. Okay. What happened?
Okay, that was weird. So.
Yeah. What happened?
I just call lost. It just dropped. So. Where was I? I was.
Well, you were. Well, we were saying what they just.
Oh! I know what it was.
Oh.
I was thinking about, if you read between the lines, it really points to their policy of, well, there's no proof that I did anything, and they're gonna, and this PO is gonna take the word of a social worker. Well, so it means that they shoot first, ask questions later. It means that they have to break the law to enforce the law. They have to arrest people to basically have an audience with them. Arrest and question, which is patently unconstitutional. So, and flawed. It's just flawed to the core. And all these, the state line issue came up later because this is one mess for them. It's all their mess. Because you have Wisconsin who transferred, the jurisdiction to an interstate compact with Illinois. So why are there two probation officers involved? It makes no sense. We have legal issues arising out of that.
Yeah, someone on the chat, Jesse, is saying that, when you hear that, why would anyone allow themselves to be taken into custody for any reason? You might never come back.
Well, here's the thing.
But you didn't know they were going to do that, right?
I didn't know that. Well, I suspected, but you see, this case is so large and so big. It involves two states because the ex was the complaining witness who committed perjury on the stand that garnered the conviction in the first place, and then also on Illinois side, people know this. I made the stupid mistake in my grief of losing my first wife. I appointed her as a executor over my late wife's estate. I mean, this is just a mess beyond all belief. But I will tell you this: because they did this, they took me into custody like this. This really links everything together. It links everything together. That's all I'm going to say. It's a positive light because I crawled out of that police station, out of that jail. The police station's next door. So I actually crawled out of there, and it's all witnessed. Went into an ambulance, went to the hospital, and I finally did. When I talked to the probation officer, it was a sort of a deal struck. I saw freedom. And then finally, I did, acquiesce and get booked, to get out of there. Because I'm thinking, okay, I know for sure I can get out of here, and then I'll fight this on the outside, which I am doing. So we had like a Cuban Missile Crisis. We came up to each other's, faces and interrupted each other's nose, and she screwed up, and I knew I would have to acquiesce, play the part of the slave just to get out, just to get out and be quote unquote free, just to get out of that jail, because I could have had stuff happen on the Illinois side that there's a house and I'm just in a squeeze play here. So and I have been for 3 years, but now that this is exciting, I will tell you I never felt better. So when I was locked up there, my spirits were great. I felt too good. I'm thinking, you know what? Something's changing here. I can't explain it. Things are turning around in my favor.
You might have been in pain physically, but mentally you were feeling no pain.
I was a teacher guy in there, just you could hear a pin drop. I was, telling them about your site, your show. Just the countless others, Carl Miller, Robert Fox, just classic, all of it, Rod Class, a bunch of people, and everything from the birth certificate on, the Corporation USA, and just going on and on and on. And
well, those people, if they're not used to hearing it, they can't get enough of it. They want to soak it up like sponge. They want to know. They know something's wrong.
Yeah. And then what we did in there, I guess for fun or occupy ourselves, you'd be amazed. We were, they call it fishing. You shoot lines to each other. This was like the most fascinating part of my stay. Every guy can communicate with another guy. They make up these lines and they tie a tube of toothpaste to it and they throw it.
What do you mean lines? Like a string? Or
a string or the inside of the briefs there, that elastic banding inside a men's briefs, they'll pull that out and make this long line string. And so then they'll take and tie that to a little toothpaste tube, and then they get at the end of their door, and there's a gap in the door, and they would just shoot this tube of toothpaste down, and it would. And then you would get it. It would hit your door, and then you'd have to reach out there, or the guy would redo it, And that's how they would communicate with each other. I was giving away my my food. I was like on a strike. I wasn't eating, and they give you a bag for breakfast. You know, there's and everything would come in the bag. You know,
a bag
so
lunch, a bag breakfast.
You'd recycle the bag, you know, and then you put your food from, you know, lunch, dinner, whatever, put it in the bag, and then the guy would send on a line, and you tie the bag to the line and stuff it through this crack, and he'd pull it away. So it was just funny, the little things that, you know, kept you busy, kept you entertained. It was a challenge, and then guys would shoot a line to another line, catch that line because that was across the hall. It was just ingenious, you know. So, and then, you know, because you didn't have pens, you had nothing, so I got, you know, I was able to communicate with other guys, get information, well, just by talking, and so that was good. So I secured my witnesses through that whole process of shooting lines.
So don't they have cameras?
Oh yeah, they have cameras, but you know they're going to be on when they want them on, and you know what I mean. They see all this.
They don't care about this communication going on back and forth.
Well, obviously not. I go there's a camera right there, right at my cell. That's the cell I was using. They can have
Let
that.
the slaves amuse themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Something like that. So that was it. Tell us about the lawsuit, the board said. Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to be the spoiler. I mean, I can't. You know, I'm working on something here. I'm no dummy, you know, and I have you know, colleagues who are no dummies either. So I can't spill the beans, but rest assured, you know, I am pursuing this, and I'm not even going to name what type of, you know, action it's going to be, but I'm doing my homework, massive homework. I'm lining up everything you can imagine for this. So I can't kiss and tell on this one. I just can't. Later I'll be able to, but it's not going to happen.
See what Jesse wrote in the chat?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Personally. Well, yeah, I mean, you know what, Jesse, it's funny because I'm gonna what are they going to say later? Oh, and here's where the roving blackout occurred. Wherever Rocco went, the camera went blank. You know, it went black.
Oh,
that's
really?
You know, no. I'm just saying. Are they going to do that? Are they actually going to say that? It's all recorded on video. And of course, you know, there was three groups of four. You know, the first four, the second four, the second four. Well, we don't know who that first four was. We're us. And then, of course, the third four doesn't know the second or the first four, you know. So
Jesse stands for the group, but let's tell them what it says. It says, I know a guy who was a deputy in Greeley County, Colorado. Mm-hmm. He gave us a tour of a new jail in about 1985. Yeah. First thing he showed us is where the camera blind spots were so they could beat the shit out of people. Right. This is my best man's brother. He is now an Army Ranger in Afghan. Yeah, well, they have blind spots probably just to do that.
I'm just saying, if you could, you know, everybody in this call, you know, they know what's up. Let me just share this detail. As I crawled out of the jail, you know, from a wheelchair, this was all witnessed by a woman, okay? I crawled up. She came up, said, you know, can I help you? I'm like, absolutely. Call an ambulance and the police. Well, the police didn't show up, but the ambulance did, and I'm just telling you, yeah, this is big. This is big. Everyone's going to have to explain a lot of explaining, especially after the fact I was released, because I have marks all over my body that I verified and have witnessed, but they're going to have to explain why they didn't afford me the same, you know, protections that they afford, you know, battered women and domestic, you know, abuse victims. You know, you know how many cans of worms are open at the same time here? It's tremendous. Yeah. It's like a mushroom cloud. So I'm just sitting here looking at it all, going, we're not gonna run down and get a few. We're gonna walk down and get them all. That's
cops don't really care because when you sue them, it's the county taxpayer. It's the taxpayers' money that pays the lawsuit, not theirs.
Well, you can also go after you just put a very small, you make it personal. You can go after their bond, their individual public hazard bond, or if it's a blanket bond, you name them personally.
Yeah, but see, that's what Robert Fox did, and now they beat him up on a regular basis, raid him. They've taken him back to court. It's the third time, is it? I mean,
no. I know stuff happens, right? You wanna come after me again? I can't stop them. I'm only one man, so yep.
They think they're untouchable,
That's all I hear from people. Watch your back. Watch your back. God didn't give me eyes in the back of my head, so I can't watch my back. Somebody else is going to have to watch my back.
Yeah. Ask the field managers to watch your back.
I do the best I can.
They're out there. Some people call them guardian angels.
Right. But I'm not the guy who I'm not going to run and hide. It's not going to happen. I am stubborn, so
yeah.
I'm a Taurus, so I'm not going away.
Bullheaded.
Yes, I am.
Oh, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. This is exciting. It's quite complex because of this dual, two states. We have a state line. We have jurisdictional issues. We have constitutional issues. We have contract issues. We have estate issues. We have trust issues. We have trust issues. I really have trust issues in every essence of the word, every meaning. So this is huge. This is huge. So I'm doing my homework. I mean, I got some stuff done today. I got some good requests. We can request certain things from the powers that be, and I have a good start. And I can do it on the cheap, you can just fax these guys. Rocco, from the board, Rocco, what would you have done different after the fact now? You see, I'm still playing the part of the slave here. If I want to be a total hard case, but then again, I don't know because I didn't go in there. They could have just totally pushed it and had a warrant sent out for my arrest. So I don't know because I didn't go there, but I'm guessing they would have done that. And I'm trying to stay free and survive just like everybody else. But I have some...
Yeah, but you know what they did? A lot of people don't know that. You once had a broken neck, and you recovered. A broken back, or was it broken neck?
Well, I have both. I broke my neck. I had a broken leg, broken neck. I was in a head-on collision August 29, 2005. And then right after this case, December 7th, my day of infamy, 2009, I fell off a ladder from 2 stories and hit pavement. So it's the ladder.
And you had a thing on your, what do they call it, a halo?
And broke. Well, for the back, halo back in 2005, but that came off and I recovered from that.
But to have the cops pick you up and throw you down on those,
concrete
injuries.
The concrete, they aggravated that. And I will say, hats off to the staff, the hospital staff, when they gave me that shot of Toradol. I felt like I had a cape on. I was feeling no pain. So for a while there, so for a while there, the world was a nice place. And then as I sat there and I realized, I noticed. And I wasn't putting this together because I was high as a kite. Now I'm like, I could have kicked myself. So this would go right back to what SPC PJ7 is saying. What would I do now different? What would I have done? I would have pulled one of these cops and said, "Hey, I noticed you're carrying a very nice piece of photography there, a camera. Would you mind?" I'm like, and you're probably here for a domestic or for a woman, I'm sure, right? Because Wisconsin is the women and children first state. I am sure of it, and I'm sure the state gas is estrogen. I'm absolutely sure of that. And men have no place in Wisconsin. So I would have, begged and pleaded, "Hey, would you like to, give me the opportunity to give you a photo shoot over here?" So that's what I would have done different. But I was higher than a kite. I was still shocked and paranoid when I saw a cop. I'm like, whoa, what?
You were high because of what they gave you,
oh,
right?
yeah, tore it all. Yeah, I was high as a kite. And then, of course, I just wanted to get home. And then when I had called, the most bizarre thing of this was I had called and someone had said the police were at your house looking for you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did they put a warrant out on Illinois too? Am I going to go from one fire to another? I mean, then I had to arrange, a ride from, I was trying to figure this out. Well, my truck, obviously everybody knows my truck. It's a specific year, and everybody, it's an old truck, rusty. Everybody knows that truck. There's no mistaking the truck I use. So it turned out after I put all the pieces together and found out that someone had actually put in a wellness check for me. The police staked out the house here for I don't know how many days, 4 or 5 days. My neighbors were freaking, but that was all because of a wellness check. They staked out. And then when I got out and talked to the probation officer in Illinois, he had no idea. He's like, "Oh, I didn't hear anything from, Wisconsin." I'm like, "Really?" So this whole thing just raises eyebrows, and it raises a whole lot of questions of their policy. I mean, reaching back to how they derive their powers, their charters, and everything. You go all the way back to the Constitution. So it's all pertinent, and this has gelled all the cases together, because there's criminal, there's family, there's even a child support, and the way the judge did things. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to talk about that because that's huge. That I can't tip my hand there. I cannot do it. I'm not going to do it. I have excited colleagues. Let me tell you that. Okay, they are grinning from ear to ear, going, "Wow, that judge did that." Well, that judge is going to have a lot of explaining. I mean, a lot of explaining, because no, we have a civil rights violation here. Okay, and this is going to march forward, and this is going to reach back through time to the very heart of the issue, from their state witness, my ex, perjury and fraud on the stand in this whole 3 years. It's like 3 years of compounded, interest. Let's look at it that way, of the damages they have caused. They have caused me, the man, and the person I use. So it's like, this is big. This is big. So I can't spill the beans. I can only give you the topical matter. We can talk about that. So.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. We know.
And I feel better than ever.
Oh, good.
But yeah, here I am telling people, "Hey, you got to get to myprivateaudio.com," and they're like, "What's that, Mike?"
You got to get what?
I said, "You got to get to myprivateaudio.com. You got to listen to Angela Stark."
Oh,
I was telling all the guys that. So, yeah, I was your cheerleader in Max.
Oh, that's sweet.
Absolutely.
I'm flattered.
Yeah. And this guy's like, "Everything I need." I go, "Buddy, everything you need for right now is at myprivateaudio.com. And I'm Rocco Vanzetti, and I approve this message.
Cool.
So,
are you running for office too?
I'm running from office. Thank you very much.
Really? Wow. Well, that was some ordeal. I really feel for you, honey, to have to go through that. Jeez. Just because the probation officer was in error.
Yeah, because a PO made a extrajudicial decision. Like I said, there was no judge, there was no magistrate, no nothing. PO hold on, PO hold off. This is solely on the PO. This is her deal, and she's got some splaining to do down the road. Really? You arrested
they all get away with murder, so.
Yeah. You arrested this man how and why again? Yeah. So.
Yeah, if you get a decent judge, what are the odds of that?
Well, forget the state court. You're not talking federal. So
Okay.
bypass all these clowns and their cronies in the state.
Like the micro man on the chat is saying it sounds to me this will be a Title 42, Section 1983 civil lawsuit.
Right.
What is that? Why don't you call in and tell us what that is? I'm glad you're out and okay, Rocco. Keep them guardian angels happy.
Right.
Yeah, that's cute. Lock the door. They turn joy nice. I'm pleased.
Yeah, there's breach of fiduciary duty. There's breach of trust. There's breach of contract. There's just breach.
Hey, Iowa. Come on in. Did you
I was just wondering if he was listening to Tammy and working his way out of commerce, or has he done that? The QV Act?
Sestakevai Act of 1666.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know Tammy, and
you know the possibility. Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking into that. I'm working because me and Bo talked to her, and she was on our show last night. So,
okay.
I'm still straddling. I got a foot here, there's another foot there. So, I think I'm Neo. I can do both. I know who I am.
Yay! My hat's off to you.
Yeah, really. Takes guts.
Yeah.
You're dealing with psychopaths.
Right.
It takes a lot of courage to do that. You never know. They don't obey any rules or any of their own laws, so. There's Dean. Hi, Dean. Welcome, Mr. KMA Club.
Hello. Yeah, Rocco.
How are you?
I was going to say that too. Is that you got some civil rights violations there?
Yep.
That's $100 per $100,000 per violation. They put you back in jail. Where was your trial by jury or trial? A jury of your peers.
Right. Yeah, there was nothing. There was nothing. Yeah. This is all up to the judge, jury, and executioner, the PO. So.
Yep. Now what you got to do is you got to put him in default. I'm sure you've already thought about that.
Well, I know. Actually, I don't. I got bits and pieces, but I'll have to look at some resources. Start to finish, and it'd be nice if someone says, "Hey, I've been here and done this, and here's the case number you can go check on." So, yeah, I'm all for checking into a process, but it'd be nice if it was a tried and true process,
Actually, if you ask Angela, she's got a picture of a horse you need to sell these guys. Didn't you get that picture today, Angela?
Picture of a horse?
Yeah, the one that's attacking a cop.
Yeah. The mounted police. Yeah.
Did I send that to you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Did you
a horse.
send it to me?
Now, Ranger Vaughn sent it to me, and the horse thought that the cop was in heat, so he was trying to help him out.
Yeah. So we'll just say the mounted police. Yeah. Yeah, and the guys that was standing there taking the picture, I'm like, holy cow. That's funny.
And hi, Angela, good to see you. I saw that Wonder Woman picture you did for Mighty Mo.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
It goes with the name, you know.
Hey, I have a friend who's guest 17. Can you unblock that guest that I can vouch for?
Oh, I guess so.
Thank you.
Since you know him.
Thanks
Guest 17?
a million. Yep, guest 17 is bona fide.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Yeah, guest 17 is going to help me out forward a bunch of docs, and also, yeah, you might want to talk to guest 17 at some point, because yeah, it's a woman who put in a habeas corpus to free her husband.
Oh.
So at one point, so I was just talking to her about that just before the call, right before the call. So keep telling the same story, you know, about what happened to me. And,
she should come on the call.
yeah. So.
Hey, you did know that Indiana is having that meeting this weekend about how to get people out of jail, using the military if you exhaust all your remedies through the court and they don't want to listen.
Really?
No, I didn't hear about that. Who's that? What? Tell me about that, Dean.
A guy named Jim Wright is having a seminar with the Illinois Assembly, and they're
wait a minute.
One of the things they're going to be talking about is that
I'm in the Illinois Assembly. What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, well yeah, Gene and
you don't know.
Roy.
I didn't hear.
Roy Rogers. Yeah, they're.
You're saying Indiana. Indiana, they're having it, right?
Yeah, Indiana. Yeah.
Indiana, right? Okay, that's it. Yeah. And I know about Jim Wright, so
yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to listen to that.
Yeah, if you can make it to that thing, if they still got openings. I don't know if they still got openings. I think the room he reserved only had 100 seats, so. I don't know if he still got openings or not. I was going to try to, but since I ran over that tree Friday night, I'm spending all my spare time trying to get my truck fixed. I'm having to drive a rental right now, so.
Yeah, I heard about that. So, did you get hurt at all, or?
No, just plowed right through the tree. Had cars right beside me. They stopped in the way instead of going on past the tree, and it left me to run right through the top of the tree, so. If there's any little bird nest or anything, I cleaned them out. Of course, they probably got cleaned out when the tree fell. When the cop pulled up behind the tree after I went, and he said, yeah, he ran through one that fell down after I passed by it, and it fell between me and him. So, he saw what I went through, and he gave me his card. He said, tell them to give me a call if they have any questions, and it was a non-reportable incident. So, okay. But they stopped them from working on my truck. I got these guys trained. As soon as I pull my truck in there, they know to jump on it because that thing's got to roll. They would have had that thing fixed in 2 days, except for the paint job. If the insurance company would have left them alone, because I fixed the headlight and bought horns to put back on there because it ripped my horns off. I replaced some other lights and took it in there. They had their windshield replaced by 10 o'clock in the morning. And the insurance company says, "Oh no, you got to tell them to stop. We need to see this damage." I said, "Well, I got pictures." But they said, well, we might need to send an adjuster out there. Okay, then you better get his butt moving because I need that truck to roll. And they've been 3 days now and I haven't heard anything whether or not they gave them the okay to go ahead. And I think I'm going to put them in default. Tell them, hey, you held me up for 3 days on getting my truck fixed. You need to move. And y'all pay for the rental truck. So we'll see how that works. That's $165 a day, and that's on this other company's discount. I mean, if it wasn't for that other company helping me get it, I would have had, well, one, I wouldn't have got a truck because there's so many trucks that are out right now, I guess for damage or whatever. There wasn't a truck, other than this one, there wasn't a truck to be found in Richmond to rent. And this one, the only reason it was there is the people that went to rent it weren't as big a company as the company I pulled for, and they rented a lot of trucks from them anyway. They got them on lease, and they're looking to renew the contract, and they let me have it because of that. But other than that, I wouldn't have got this truck. I would have been out 3 days now with nothing to pull. Mm. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm glad to hear you're out. Sorry to hear you went in there in the first place. That's terrible.
Yeah, I just shot you something in Skype. Take a look at it when about that process. I'd love to see it and look it over. How to default them. I mean, there's so many, processes out there. So.
Yeah, I'll when I get home, I'll Skype you and we can okay. Cover some more things that might help you put stuff into the court. Put a declaration of status in there.
Right.
And it'll let them know, don't mess with you no more. And now that you have messed with me, you owe me.
Right.
So it'll put your foot in the door with the court saying leave you alone, and unless you're ready to do this strictly by the Constitution, don't mess with me.
Right.
So anyway,
our fee schedule. Yeah, it involves a fee schedule, right?
I don't know if it does or not. I haven't seen it. But the thing is, what they're doing is they had a lady that went in there. She got $100,000 for them. I forgot what kind of damages they called it, but it was basically they violated her rights. So she got $100,000 per incident, and then she got let's see, what was it? $1.8 million for something else. I forgot what that was, but it was basically along the same line. And see, here's another thing: Trebizond down in Florida, Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, I know about Trebizond versus the city of Tampa. $86,000 per hour, and that's not even adjusted for inflation, which Michael James Anthony did, and he puts it at $100,000 per hour. So yeah. Ironically, that guy Trebizond had a back trouble. It's like we're two guys who had back trouble. He had a rod in his back. I go, you talk about precedent, alignment. I'm right there. So
yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. Yep, and that's what he got him for. Is that they did? He called for a doctor. They wouldn't get him a doctor. They wouldn't let him out. He wasn't supposed to be in there in the first place.
Yeah.
And when he asked for medical attention, they didn't get it. So that was worth $25,000 for 23 minutes. So
right, and the math is $86,000 per hour. So right.
Yeah, I figured at 1.5. Somebody else figured at 1.6 or 1.8 million per day.
Just get the calculator out. Yeah, I forget the.
I had to break out the Excel. My spreadsheet on my calculator didn't go that high.
Right. So, hey, Angela, guest 17 is on the call, so.
Oh,
you want
where?
To talk, if you want to talk, she just Skype and said she's on the call.
Okay, is that Southeast Michigan, North and West Colorado, or Southeast Arizona?
It would be Colorado. Yeah.
Hi there. We got other people that have their hand up too. Let me unmute everyone so they can chime in. Okay,
hey, Angela.
Wow. Hi.
Hi, y'all. It's the Greek. I just wanted to chime in.
Oh, hi, Stelios. Nice of you to join us.
Yeah, sometimes, you get these inspirations and ideas, and the idea was call in and say hello to everyone because you and the group and everyone on this call are special. And the reason why I say that is recently I've been doing some history on what they call law, justice, and the court system, not just in this country, but all countries generally through the history of mankind. And it's always been grim. It's always been one thing or another. They're either like they are currently a corporation and they just want to run you through to get that credit, or before it was because of some form of belief, or it was because you were on the wrong side of someone who had the money. So this has been going on, this what people call injustice or unrighteous ruling. I'd say minimum of 4,500 to almost 5,000 years. So what does one do? I found out it's just they need to be avoided or approached with the utmost cunning, like many people are now learning to navigate. So I just wanted to throw that in, maybe as a word of hope. And it's obviously the history has been very grim as it is now, but the hope is that you can avoid them, and you can get away from them, and you can go after them with your own cunning. Like Rod Klaas says, it's a war of words. But I just want to remind everyone, it's not the situation currently since the bankruptcy of 1933 and the birth certificate, but this has been going on when there were not corporations and there were monarchies, and all the way back to the feudal lords of many of the countries. And also, it's very important that we reflect on human nature as a whole. There's a story about a man 1,900 plus years ago in Judea who was innocent and accused of a crime, a high crime, and the governor put him in front of the people and someone who was self-admitted thief and murderer. And the governor asked the people, who should we free, this innocent man or this self-confessed murderer? And the people with one voice shouted, free the murderer and put the innocent man to death.
Right.
So that's Barabbas. Yes. So this is an example of, just like today, if the police come to someone's house and they drag him out, all the neighbors are like, well, he must have done something wrong. He deserves to go, you see. So it's not only just system, because if they actually did what was in this written on paper, it wouldn't be, it would be actually palatable and able to maneuver properly. But it's actually human nature, the way that the everyday man on the street operates. Because if the man on the street operated differently, the powers that be wouldn't be operating that way at all. So hopefully, give some words of hope, words of encouragement, and also maybe some sobering words, because it's not just in your county or your state currently. It's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And the good news is it will end, and we will be able to be freed from this misery.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I got knocked off, but I heard you the whole time.
Well, thanks for having
nice
giving me the
come
floor.
On.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for giving me the floor.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Anytime, Hi, Nancy.
Hi. I have a question. The state of Colorado Department of Revenue is coming after me, and they just ran all over my affidavit, and they called it an argument. They didn't answer it. And now they're trying to do other stuff. And I can't remember, isn't there a case or a time when you can sue the individuals of a state?
Yes.
In their
individual capacity?
Paper versus Malo, 502 U.S. 21.
Wait a minute. I'm without my...
Hi, Constitution Man.
Hi.
See there? I'm right
Welcome.
there.
I was
right
trying to email you, and now I don't have to.
502 U.S. 21.
Wait.
Malo.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready. Okay. It's
okay, go ahead and say it again for her real slow.
Hafer, Hafer, versus Malo, MELO, 502, that's volume 502, U.S. Reports, page 21.
U.S. Reports.
Page 21.
Thank you very much.
That one says you have a right to sue in their individual capacity. If they violate your constitutional rights, they have no immunity. And there's further cases. One is called Owens versus the City of Independence, Missouri.
Owens versus who?
The City of Independence, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Recorded at 100 Supreme Court. It's volume 100. Supreme Court Report. Page 1398. There's one more that came out, Maine versus Thibodeau. Maine versus Thibodeau. T-H-I-B as in boy, I-T as in Tom, O-U-T. And that's recorded at 100 Supreme Court, 2502. All those cases say you have a right to sue even a judge. That they have no immunity for violating somebody's constitutional rights. They're deemed to be an expert on the law. They are to advise us to the law. They can hardly claim they act in good faith for a willful deprivation of basic constitutional rights. They certainly can't plead ignorance of the law. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for you, a little citizen, let alone a Juris Doctor graduate of law. Therefore, judicial immunity is denied. They have no judicial immunity. If they violate your rights, they're done.
Well, they certainly have, because they have threatened me. They have, tried to coerce me. They have done all kinds of stuff, and they don't, well, the upper echelon does, but nobody in the regular office signs anything. They don't even sign their name or a name.
They don't want to get sued, you know?
Huh? Well, that's what I want to do, is sue them.
Well, they know what's going on. They know exactly what part they play in it, too.
Well, it's interesting because somebody told me that who worked at, the regular lower level, that they were told not to tell anybody who they worked for.
Yep. Well, what they're afraid of is that you'll go after their bond.
Well,
every city has what's called a bond, a blanket bond for their employees, and they don't want anybody going out and collaterally attacking that bond because that would put most cities out of business.
Well, this is a state.
Whatever.
State of Colorado.
They would have the same bond.
Yeah. So that would be, rather than take them just to court, or do that too?
Right, the right to collaterally attach their bond if they're misbehaving and not doing what they promised in their fiduciary sworn oath of office, and they're not following what Howard Griswold calls their responsibility. They're not doing due diligence and following their responsibilities, and they're violating your rights, then clearly they have a duty, a sacred duty. It's called res ipsa loquitur, RESIPSA which is basically the responsibility of a father or a mother to their child, a sacred duty. Like you can't leave your kid out in the hot car in the sun. If you do and the kid dies, they charge you with murder, okay? Mm-hmm. It's a sacred responsibility. Well, they have a sacred responsibility as well. When they took their oath of office, they swore that they would perform their duties to the best of their ability, so help them God, and that they would uphold your constitutional rights and protect it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Well, they're not doing that. So you have a right to come after them, collaterally attack them, and go after their bond.
Thank you so much.
That's great. I wanted to comment before about Robert Fox, our good illustrious Emperor of the South. They beat him bad. They beat him up so bad when he wouldn't give his information or fingerprints or anything. They broke his back, okay? And to this day, he suffers greatly, having been injured in their jails. Standing up.
Yeah, they're sadists.
What's up with the broken back? I mean, it's just crazy.
They really need to
get...
If they're that mentally deranged that they got to injure somebody to that extent, and to this day he is in serious medical all the time. He has to take all kind of pain pills. It's in serious medical.
I know. I think they hire them that way. If you've got a psychotic episode in your history, I think they'll pay a premium to get you into their force.
They need to understand that they.
That's what it seems like.
A hiring bonus.
Yeah. Well, they don't really. I don't want to say pick the brightest and the best. Some of them are pretty good, but some of them really got no business being a police officer. It requires integrity.
No, you know what? John Stewart guy has it right. He says none of them are any good because they can't be because they're covering for the bad ones.
Well, they are covering.
So they're just bad. They keep their mouth shut. They're just bad.
I know cases where they've pulled the bad ones in the back corner and given them some words of wisdom and say, look, we're out here busting our ass all week to try and make it a better place to live, and if you keep this up, you're making us all look bad, and we're going to take you out back and teach you the four-cornered walls, Kentucky style, if you keep it up. I've known of cases like that. I've also known of cases where the police officer went against everything and stood forth and did the righteous thing. So I had a policeman pull me out of a burning car.
That doesn't happen too often.
There are some good ones, but you just got to really watch carefully. Then one of the things you can always do is look for their name tag and their badge number. They hate that. They're more afraid of you if you're looking at their badge number and their name tag than they are all the threats and I'm going to sue you and all this other stuff. They don't like it when you're writing down everything and you're keeping records of names and badge numbers.
Yeah.
And it's the message to them that they can be held accountable, and in some cases, those 5 cops down in that hurricane were indicted, charged, and are now in prison. So, you know.
Good.
Things are coming
it's not often
a little bit, but they don't always get away with their crap. Sometimes they get busted. And like Rod Class, you know, he showed them you can be held responsible, and I'll come get your house. I had a guy just 2 days ago get out of jail. All he said to the cop was, "You do have a house, don't you? I do love houses, and lakefront property especially." And the cop was all of a sudden super nice, and the next thing you know, they were letting him go, and he wouldn't sign nothing. He refused to sign everything. But I'm not encouraging people to go do that because I know that you can end up with a serious problem like Robert the Fox, you know, and they can beat you up pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's
what they try to do to Rock.
You beat up. The idea, try and get you to a win without getting you all beat up. Just got to use good judgment.
Anybody else want to chime in? Just chime in.
Can I get the first case that he gave Nancy, that very first case? Because I didn't get it.
Safer?
H-A-F-E-R.
H like Harry?
H like Harry. A-F-E-R versus Malo. M is in Mike. E is in Edward. L is in Lima. O is in Oscar.
Okay.
The number is 502 US 21.
And it was
Page
21.
Page 21.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
And it was Owens versus the city of?
Owens versus the city of Independence, Missouri.
Oh.
Owens was the chief of police for the city of Independence, Missouri. Owens got fired from his job without so much as a due process hearing. Owens took it all the way to court, all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, hey, you denied this guy due process. You can't do that. So they ruled in favor of Owens. Now Owens drives around a Lincoln Continental, and on the side of its car, it's got Owens Patrol Car. That case is recorded at 100 Supreme Court, 13. Now in Maine versus Thibodeau.
We lost you, honey. You faded out. Say it again. What was the case?
Maine versus Thibodeau.
Maine versus Thibodeau. Maine versus Thibodeau.
Okay.
Maine versus Thibodeau.
Yeah.
And Maine.
Yeah, I think we have the link to that anyway on your webpage that I made you also.
Yeah, I've sent all that stuff. But Thibodeau was a lady who had a bunch of kids, and she was living in Pennsylvania, and she got a job offer to go to Maine. And so she went to Maine, and the job fell through. So she was strapped and had to go back on welfare. Well, they accused her of shopping for welfare because Maine had a better program than Pennsylvania, and so they denied her right to the welfare. Well, she sued. It got all the way to the Supreme Court. She was discriminated against, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of her and said, no, she was entitled. She was in a position of destitution. She needed assistance. They had a duty to provide that assistance, and they didn't do it on some pretext that she was supposedly out shopping for welfare benefits and better welfare benefits, when in fact she had been offered a job in Maine, went to Maine, made the due diligence, and then the job fell through. And then she was stuck with all her kids and had no support. So she had to go back on welfare, and then they discriminated against her, which she won her case. She doesn't need welfare anymore. That's recorded at 100 Supreme Court, page 2502. So that would be volume 100 Supreme Court Reports, page 2502. Now, these cases are very, very, very instrumental in allowing a lot of our rights to be, because for years, they would say, well, I have judicial immunity. You can't do anything to me anyway, so I'm going to rule any way I want. And after 1982, when these cases came through, they had to realize, hey, I can get sued here. Before, you couldn't sue a judge. They'd claim judicial immunity. I was operating in good faith. But see, if you look up Article 3, Clause 1 of the Constitution, it says judges of the Supreme Court and Inferior Court hold their office during good behavior. Well, they're not in good behavior if they're violating your constitutional rights, now are they? If they're not in good behavior, they can't claim they acted in good faith, now can they? That makes the law look stupid. And for a Juris Doctor in law to claim they didn't understand the law is ridiculous. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for you. It certainly would be no excuse for a learned Juris Doctor graduate law school, you understand? So they have no immunity. They knew exactly what they were doing, and they did it any damn way, and they didn't care. And if you got injured, oh well. Now people are coming back, and they're starting to sue them. And that's what needs to be done. We have to get a collar on these judges. We have to get these judges to understand the law applies to them just like it does to everybody else. The sooner we can get that across to them, the better this country is going to be, and we'll start realizing our constitutional rights do get upheld in courts. The crooked judges will start to realize they can be held accountable, and they'll get the hell out because they'll start to realize they can go to jail. And their chances of living going to jail are somewhere between 0 and none. So they don't want to go to jail.
Well, I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but it's interesting because the Department of Revenue is for taxes and for motor vehicles.
Well, that may very well be, but any state in the union is blocked by a statute, a federal statute called Title 31, United States Code, Section 742, which basically says, except as otherwise provided by law, all stocks, bonds, treasury notes, and any other obligations of the United States are exempt from state, municipal, and local taxation. This exemption extends to every form of tax, which would require that either the obligations, that's some green things in your pocket, or the interest they're on, which is how they figure your property taxes, or both, be considered directly or indirectly in the computation of the tax. So if they used obligations to figure the tax, guess what? They screwed up. Now that was upheld in the case of Memphis Bank versus State of Tennessee at L. Garner, okay? And that was upheld as the supreme law of the land. Well, guess what? As soon as that got found out in 1984, they went in all the law books and they moved it. They took Title 31, Section 742, right out of the law book, and they moved it to the back of the book at Section 3124, except they never bothered to put in there that it was repealed, revised, or otherwise changed, or is now relocated to Section 3124. So they did that because they didn't want the public to know about it, because then they wouldn't have to pay any taxes to the state or local government. So they deliberately did that, and that was done what is called fraud by silence, to induce a party to their injury by a species of silence, wherein they lead you to part with something of great value under an illusion that this is the way it is, when in fact it's exactly opposite. they broke the law. They did this deliberate with malice aforethought, and by that doing of fraud, they have unclean hands. And if they have unclean hands in theory of law, they can't come to court and now complain about you because their hands are filthy dirty. Otherwise, they make the judge a party or the court a party to the fraud. And the court can never be a party to the fraud, and that is stated in Franklin versus Franklin, 283 Southwest 2nd, 486. The court can never be a party to fraud. So you would allege fraud and fraud on the court and fraud on you, and just turn around and say, and I'm going to give you some real good advice, go find another hobby, pick on somebody else, because if you pick on me, I'm going to sue your socks off.
Well, you know, I read that 31-742, and in there it says that the state will take Federal Reserve notes for the taxes.
Fine, but Title 12, Section 411 says the said note shall be deemed to be obligations of the United States. They're forbidden from taking obligations of the United States. So how, therefore, do they do that in violation of federal banking law, Title 12, Section 411? See,
I don't know, but it's...
They are talking out of their ass, and their heads should know better, and they just do what they damn well please until people like you and I come along, hold their feet to the fire, and say, hold the line here, Chester, you're not following the law. And this has been upheld in the United States Supreme Court in Memphis Bank versus State of Tennessee at L. Garner, where it clearly was held that Title 31-742 was the supreme law of the land. Now, how, therefore, do you mess with that law? How, therefore, do you move it to the back of the book at Section 3124 to hide it from the public?
Well, they made me really angry because of the threats and the coercion and
the
lies and, you know, the saying it's all frivolous.
Very angry. Now, the ideal situation is no matter how angry they make you, you got to be very courteous and basically almost sickeningly courteous and look them back in the face and just basically tell them, well, I believe you're incorrect. And the law is supposed to be interpreted in favor of me. I am the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary of the citizen for the protection of rights and property. That's Byers versus United States, 273 U.S. 28. Now, you're supposed to interpret it in favor of me, and I'm telling you, I am upholding 31-742, and you're in violation. Now, what do you want to do? You want to fix this, or you want to go to court? Supposed to interpret it in my favor. I am the beneficiary of the contract. Now, why aren't you enforcing it in my favor? And that's 16th American Jurisprudence, 2nd Section 9-7, which further upholds Byers versus United States. So these people are just talking out of their tail, and their head knows better, but they get away with it most of the time because most of the people are dumbed down or they just aren't aware. And so, like the Bible says, my people perish for their lack of knowledge, and they get away with it.
Well, can I ignore the fact, you know, they said that they ignored my affidavit. And
did they put an affidavit in to counter it?
No. I put an affidavit in the first place to counter their claim.
Put an affidavit in to counter your claim, and they got to do it within 30 days, or yours
they didn't.
Entirely is true. If yours
I could put that in the. I could take it to the county recorder and then put it in a court case.
Say, how come you're hiding this stuff? Why are you hiding from the public? See, they're hiding all this stuff. They don't want nobody to know this stuff.
Now in this last letter where she said deny, you know, it's denied, and she said you have to answer this within, they always do this, within 30 days of receipt of the date on this letter. Well, I didn't even get it for 21 days after.
There's a shock. You mean they held the letter up?
Yes, they did. Because I asked the post office when they received it, and they said yesterday.
Okay, well, guess what? Then they voided their estoppel clause because they got caught for holding on to the letter and running the time out, and then now you get it and there's no time to answer. And I hate to say it, but they're notorious for pulling crap like that. They call that a sewer copy. They throw your copy in the sewer. You don't get it. And then they try and say, well, we sent you a copy. Oh, yeah, right. Sure you did.
Actually, they sent me two. They sent me one certified and one that came much later that was not certified.
Well, how far from downtown do you live? What could it take? 2 days?
From my town, 8 miles, but that isn't where they are.
No, it didn't take them more than 3 days a week for you to
It
get
would
that.
take, the mail should get from Denver to my post office within 1 day.
All right.
2 at the most.
So somebody lied and somebody swore to it. They're not following their fiduciary responsibility. Get them with Howard Griswold's stuff about fiduciary responsibility. Clearly you knew or should have known what you were doing was wrong, and you held on to the thing for, 25 days, and then you send it out, and then I just get it right on the deadline? I don't think so. My mother didn't raise no fools, and this isn't my first rodeo.
In fact, they didn't even accept it. I sent it to 3 places in the state, like the head and the head of the taxation, then
They ever respond?
The regular people, and she didn't accept it for 11 days, the certified mail, after everybody else did.
Well, does that sound like obstruction to you?
Yeah.
You need to call them on it. You need to say, if you're going to continue to violate my constitutional rights and play these games with me, I'm going to have to insist on collaterally attacking your bonds. They can't work without a bond. Every employee has to have a specific performance bond. And if they're not going to operate and perform their duties, in an honorable manner and protect your constitutional rights like they swore they would, then you have a right to go collaterally attach their bond. All of a sudden you start mentioning stuff like that around their clerk's office and around their registrar's office, and ask them, who is your indemnifier? Who is your loss inventory control officer? See, every city is graded on how well they pay their bills and how many lawsuits they get into. Usually it's 1 to 500, and depending on how good you perform and how honorable you operate, depends on what grade you get. Now, that also depends on how much you pay for insurance. Obviously, if you got a better grade and you don't get in a lot of lawsuits and you don't mess with people and you don't cause all kind of problems, you got a higher grade, you don't get big fees for your insurance. But if you're getting in lawsuits every other day and you're causing all kind of problems and people are suing their socks off, guess what? You got to pay through the nose to get that insurance.
Well, she was just appointed this year, so she's new.
Sounds to me like she's new.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand her responsibilities under her duties, and that she can be held liable both civilly and criminally, and she can never bond pulled. Now, what insurance company is going to reinsure you and give you a bond if you have this record of violating the hell out of people? Once you pull that bond, she's out of a job permanently.
This is the state of Colorado.
I don't care.
The Department of Revenue.
Okay, well, I don't care. Most of them people are operating 100% unlawfully anyway.
Right.
Now, obviously, there are people that will say, well, you're antisocial, you're a radical thinker and all this, and how are we supposed to pay for all this government and fire trucks and police and what have you, they want to make every excuse in the world to say, well, logically we should have this. I mean, we have to have fire departments, we have to have police departments, we have to have services, we have to have courts, we have to have all of these things, and somebody has to pay for that. And the rational thought process is that we have these taxes, and we have to have school boards, and we have to have we have to have these things. And some way there has to be a method of paying for this. Now, if everybody thinks like you, why we wouldn't have any fire departments, we wouldn't have any police departments, you would have chaos in the streets, and they try and come around you and rationalize this and that. Well, partially they're right. That's true. So at some point you have to make a decision here. Okay, if you shut them down totally, your quality of life goes in the sewer, because you have no police to protect you out on the street. You have no fire department to come to your house if it catches on fire. You don't have any services at all. But some of these services are unnecessary, and they're just a pain in the you-know-what.
Well, my time, there's a volunteer fire department here.
Okay, well, we need to have some balance between serious constitution and rational thinking. Otherwise, you have chaos, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. At some point, somebody has to pay for that. At some point, we have to have the fire truck. It's got to have gas in the tank, and it's got to be ready to roll, and there's got to be quality firemen that know what the hell they're doing, that jump on board and risk their life to come out to the house and put the fire out, okay? But where do we draw the line here? Where do you draw a line? There has to be some balance between serious thought, rational thought, and rights. But when some of these people harass you the way they do, and they bully, and they come out, this is not America. This is not the way our forefathers ever intended. They have it like that. They need to get their act together, and they need to be more professional, and they need to treat people with dignity and courtesy. Most of the problem we have with these departments are they don't have any training in dignity and courtesy, so they treat people like crap. Well, that in turn gets a backlash going, and then the people that are intending to do a decent and honorable thing get a burr the wrong way, and then they want to just slam back. Well, you want to treat me like crap? I'll treat you like crap. What do you think of that? You see. So it's a combination of problems. It's a combination of lack of education. It's a combination of problems with bureaucrats who seem to think they're King Farouk and that, whatever they say is the law, and that's not necessarily the case. It's a combination between people not understanding how we're going to make states of America flow. Where's the balance line? Who's going to tell me where the balance line is? How can we balance rational thinking with serious action and defense? Because there has to be some balance in thinking. There has to be some serious understanding that you guys are public servants. Look up the word servant.
Gigi Bosch, Uzi, you're all making noise.
Oh.
Did you have something to say, Gigi Bosch? Yeah, hold on a second.
Yes, I do.
Got a lot of people that go ahead. A lot of people itching to talk.
We answered
okay. Oh gosh, it's so good to talk to. To even be in the presence by phone of Constitution Man.
Well, I'm trying.
He's like a legend.
Yeah.
I'll have a question though. I had a girlfriend who was arrested. Well, she was kidnapped, might as well say, by the police department. I'm in North Carolina. And she's using the Trezevant versus Tampa case, but now she's managed to,
That's the Florida case. That's where you get $1.8 million per day set up as the damage for a false arrest or false imprisonment.
Exactly. Her case is very similar to that one. She was held for 21 days. However, they dismissed the case against her. However, she's not dismissing her case against them. And now her plan is to go after them for damages, but she's kind of wondering, how to go about it. And she's been in and out of courts, and she knows how to operate, and she usually gets their cases dismissed because she also had a pending case against South Carolina Police Department. But I was just wondering if anyone could tell me where she could possibly go, as a format for her lawsuit against the police department.
A lot of the court systems today are set up in what they call a demonstration court. And their attitude is, if you don't have an attorney, you must not care. Therefore, why should we? And so what we try and do is if you can find an honorable attorney, and I realize that's saying a lot, but I do know of some, I have run into some, you have to find a serious attorney. And the reason for the attorney is not just because you have the protection or saying that I have an attorney, but it's because most of the people you're going to sue are not even going to listen to you, little old you.
Right.
Because they don't think you're ever going to fully grasp this thing to a final conclusion. So they usually figure, well, we can run you out. We'll just run you out on your resources, run you out on your monies, run you out on filing all kind of ridiculous papers that don't mean jack anyway. They're just a harassment that cause the cost of litigation to go up, And they literally drive you nuts with discovery and interrogatories and all this stuff, you understand?
Right.
So it's in your best interest to have a quality, serious, honest attorney if you can find such a person, okay? I will tell you they are out there, but you got to look real hard, okay? Because a lot of them, they just want your money, and all they want to do is walk into court and say, I'm your attorney, and they don't want to earn it, okay? And that is unfortunate. If they had any pride in their quality workmanship and in their ethics and what have you, they would want to do the best job they could possibly do, because that would advance both their course, their reputation, and the legal system, and people in their day in court. So you would think they would want to do that, but that's not usually the case. What's usually the case, they want to steal you blind, lie to you, run you out, and at the last minute tell you, oh, I forgot to tell you, by the way, we didn't do this on time, so you're going to lose, you know. I mean, I get so tired of talking to some of these people. I just had one today, you know, and I just, you know, like, come on, you know, you knew you had to file that appeal on time. Why didn't you file that appeal on time? You took $4,000 from this guy, and then you didn't file the appeal on time? Give me a break, Jake, you know. But apparently, most people don't have the skills. I'm just telling you straight up truth. The management skills, organizational skills, the patience, they are easily intimidated, they're easily threatened, and they really don't have the necessary, and you're hearing me, a guy who's been teaching people to do this for years and years. Yeah. They just don't have what is required. The bottom line is, what they want to do is come to a Patriot meeting, and they assume that they will get free legal services. This is not necessarily the case. You understand? But they just assume that people, oh, you owe me this, you know, and that's not necessarily true either. You see, and then they get all frustrated because they came to the meeting, you know, and they wanted to get some legal help, and they, you know, they are just disappointed. So I don't recommend that people go and file lawsuits and then rely on the local Patriot group for assistance, because a lot of times they're going to get told 20 different things to the moon, and none of them will agree, and they'll all conflict, and you'll have all kind of problems. So I recommend you do try and find an honest, serious attorney, and you don't wear your business and tell all your story out at the Patriot meeting, because if you wear your business on the street, it's going to get walked on, and then people are going to criticize you. Well, you should have done this. Well, you should have done that. I don't need to hear that garbage, you know. You just go handle your business. Just do it quietly. Get a nice, serious attorney, and then go sue them. Okay. But do understand that he's an attorney with some serious guts, because he's putting his career on the line and his law practice. He put himself through law school. He put up all this money to pay for all this law school. He's probably still in hock to his eyeballs, you know, to pay for it, especially if he's a young guy fresh out of law school. And so he's going to be a little put up with you if you try and overact and try and tell him how to do his job. There's a real delicate balance here. You got to use good judgment, obviously. Now, most
she actually did try to find some attorneys, but you know she's because she knows that, well, she always says North Carolina is so corrupt that and I tell her it's everywhere. But yeah, she actually was trying to find an attorney, but I guess because she just gave up because she just wasn't able to find one.
Most of these cases get settled out of court. Would you believe that?
I could believe that. Yeah.
I think an attorney on the other side especially knows his client, his deed. I mean, they got evidence up the wazoo. These guys got records that they can pull for forever. They did the deed. Eventually, we're going to have to settle. Now, don't you think it would be more intelligent to have an attorney on the end of that phone when they call and tell them, look, you know we got this case in the bag. It's just a simple matter. When do you think you guys might want to sit down and get real and make this woman an offer she can't refuse? You know, at least offer her some compensatory thing that's going to try and make her whole and get her life back on track. Now, you've got two choices. You can keep dragging this out and playing games, but if it gets in front of a jury, you're dead. Because the jury's going to hang you 6 ways to China. Everybody's seen that movie, you know, Paul Newman, you know, and the bottom line is, if it gets in front of a jury, your goose is cooked. So we all know you're not going to a jury. You don't want to go to a jury because the jury's going to hang you. So let's get real here. You want to sit down here like intelligent adults and work something out. Let's try and resolve this out of court with a consent judgment between us where you just agree, let's pay this woman some compensation and get her back compensated and realize that you're going to have to settle this case and you're going to have to pay her something. So let's quit screwing around. Now see, if you have an attorney, the chances of them actually making that call and doing that dialogue is a for sure be. But if you have that attorney to talk to that attorney, got me, what happens is they just delay the thing out, drag it out. They figure you'll run gas sooner or later, most people, and then they walk. You know, they actually are tickled if you don't get an attorney. But they know you're not going to put up with all of the paperwork and the filings and did you get the stuff filed on time and all this stuff. Most people don't have the detailed, they don't have the memory, they don't have the business practice procedure, they don't have the organizational skills, they don't keep accurate records, they don't, there's many negatives that the average person has to go past that they're just not going to be achievers. So you really do need to have some skilled person that this attorney will talk to that will be a communication situation that will get you into a settlement dialogue. And without that, your chances of a settlement will start going down from there, okay?
Okay. Well,
they don't I appreciate it. So you need to have her get an attorney who is going to deal with her in an honest and fair and reputable manner, who is going to actually do what he promises to do, which is to get her day in court.
Well, I remember Robert Fox saying there was a questionnaire with a bunch of questionnaire that he would ask attorneys before he would allow them to take any of his cases, and if they failed those questions, of course, he already knew that they weren't going to represent him.
But
so
Robert
do you think that
is not the typical person out here on the block? Robert Fox is an exceptionally knowledgeable, skilled legal person. Has a reputation over decades of, they fear Robert Fox with a perfect passion. They don't want to go against a Robert Fox. I had the state's attorney general one time tell me, I hate going against guys like you. You're either really, really good or you're really, really bad. And I don't get a chance to find out till the actual day of the court date. And then it's too damn late. And then you bring up, where do you guys come up with all this shit? And then I got to listen to the judge tell me, never before as a young man, not an attorney, so literally overwhelmed learning counsel for the prosecution, a licensed attorney. And then I got to listen at that end, and then I get to go upstairs and have the office staff, hey, you take on any big cases lately? I hear you got whomped by a pro se litigant today, Rant. He says, they just rub salt in the wound, I hate going against guys like you. Now, if you get a guy like Robert Fox, that's fine. Because they'll listen to Robert Fox, and he'll know the procedures, and they won't buffalo him, and he won't back down. I mean, the man is just impeccable. But see, not everybody is a Robert Fox, and you need to understand that.
Yeah. Well, she's known here in the court system as well, so she's not a Robert Fox, of course, but they know her by her last name.
Okay, well, that's
good. By her last name. But she was willing to find an attorney because she had so many different cases. One of them is against Walmart. So she has so many different ones. She said she'd be willing to pay an attorney to take this one over because of the time factor.
I really do think that would be an intelligent decision.
Okay.
Also, that guy would just take care of that case, leaving her open to take care of these other cases. But when you got 4 or 5 cases going simultaneously and you got the mail coming from them 4 or 5 cases, it's real easy to get confused, even for people like me. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm used to doing it all the time, and I juggle hundreds of cases simultaneously. But I'm here to tell you, even I have problems sometimes and get a little confused, and we have to double check and make sure. And that's why I always encourage everybody to keep a logbook and write down every communication, between you and the other party, every court date, everything that goes on, every phone call that comes to you, and write it down, because 2 years down the road, you're not going to remember all this stuff. It ain't going to.
Yeah.
And you're the one that lived the case, so you can imagine what. If you stand out on the steps of a courthouse and you listen to people coming out of court, you'll hear them bitch like this. Well, you didn't even bring up this, and you didn't even bring up that, and you didn't bring up any of this stuff. I told you about it. How come you didn't bring it up? See, there's no way that lawyer is going to remember all that stuff. He's juggling hundreds of cases simultaneously. You're the best person, actually, because you lived the case to know what happened. And if you keep a logbook and keep accurate records, guess what? As soon as they see you pull your logbook out on a witness stand and start checking when you're questioned and say, well, let me see, on such and such a date, that would be over here, page so-and-so, okay, and they see you're organized and man, it's like, oh, we're going to get killed in this case. We're going to get killed. This person documents everything. Everything that you can demonstrate to the other side that you're deadly serious and that you're coming, and that you write everything down, and that we have every I dotted and every T crossed, and I got a serious attorney here, and we're going. And you'd probably better get the idea we're going to settle probably out of court if you got a brain in your head, because if this stuff goes before a jury, you're done. You're toast. Now, that's my professional opinion that I give you free of charge, just for your time to listen. But I tell you, if you follow that type of mental process when you do these things, you have a far better chance of proceeding in a winning posture, especially where children are involved. Especially where children are involved, because these judges today are not releasing kids. They're just not releasing kids back to the same home just so that he can read about it in the paper 2 months later that the child died in that home. You understand? So you really have to have competent, serious counsel to demonstrate to that judge anyway that he's not releasing this kid back to a home environment that's going to be detrimental to that kid's life, you know what I'm saying? And it's been too many bad stories and too many kids that have died, and these judges are now getting sued. And so they are going to be a whole bunch more careful. So if you're going to be doing this stuff and battling, you need to understand the rules of the game. And you need to be a player, not just somebody in name where you said I did it. I'm going to sue you, or I put my name on the papers. And I'll tell you, I've seen a whole lot of people in 44 years try this and come. And I've taught a whole bunch of them to be their own attorney. But the honest ones will tell you they worked their ass off before they ever got that code on their name to where they just get left alone. Your average person isn't going to do that. They won't. They don't have the work ethic. They don't have the organizational skills. They don't know how to talk to people a lot of times. A lot of times they have what I call social dysfunctions, where they feel everybody is against them, so everybody they talk to, they're going to talk belligerent. Well, that's not necessarily true. A lot of people, if you just talk to them straight, will tell you straight, you know what I'm saying? But if you come up with a chip on your shoulder and start talking trash, immediately they're going to start talking trash. So what did you just achieve communication skills-wise? Nothing. You just pissed them off. Now how are we going to get any kind of an agreement out of that guy? You're not. You see. So there's a lot involved here. There's communication skills, there's organizational skills, there's work ethic. Will you get up off your ass and turn that stupid TV off and go hit the books? Will you go look that up, go down to the law library and take all day to go look that up? You have to be willing to make the sacrifices, and see, most people are not willing to do that. That's part of the problem.
Okay. Anybody else? Wait a second, Carl. Let's see here. We might have a few more questions. I unmuted a whole bunch of people. Did you have a question? Is Mindy? Is it Mindy or?
Oh
my goodness.
No,
Mandy?
we lost her.
We lost her? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll come back. Who else? So I unmuted a bunch of people.
We'll make sure she gets covered.
Just chime in if you have a question.
Yeah, do that. And I don't mean to take over the whole mic. I don't. I just want to make sure good information goes out.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure. No. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, is that you, Dallas?
Yeah, that's me. I've been listening.
Okay, go ahead. I muted you. Good.
Yeah, one of the things I've been here, taking care of my dad and cooking and that kind of stuff I have to do right now. So I'm listening at the same time, and I heard all of this from the gentleman that has gone through the court case and all the stuff he went through, and the one thing, just like what Constitution Man is saying, that I've been through that, the court stuff and everything else like that, and I never ever want to go through that ever again.
Yeah.
And it's not pretty, it's not fun, and for people who do that without knowing what they're doing, like Constitution Man says, they're just taking a big, huge risk with their lives. It's a huge risk, and it's not, your life is disrupted for several years until you can get it back on track again. And unless I know that I'm going to win when I walk in, I don't want to go in there. And but the question I have for Constitution Man when he was talking about the bonds, I've heard people over the years talk about the bonds, and I right here in Riverside County, I went into the office where the bond was held, find out about who indemnified the city and everything else like that when I was going through my situation 12 years ago, but I've never heard of anyone being successful with actually going after bond and actually doing it, knowing how to do it. Is there, Constitution Man, my question to you is, if someone wants to do that, number one, how would they go about doing that? Where would they find the information to do that? And who's been successful that you know of with that, actually going after the bond for some public employee?
I've known a lot of people that have been successful that have done that, but it has to be done in a specific manner. You have to go in and go to the registrar's office, usually the auditor and registrar for a city, because they keep charge of all finances that come in and go out, okay? And they're usually the one that is the holder of the bond, or they are the office that takes care of arranging the bonding, okay? Then there will be what is called a loss inventory control officer. Now, that loss inventory control officer doesn't do nothing but catalog, keep track of, and deal with communications involving payouts and money coming into the city, okay? Now, every city gets a grade rating. Usually it's 1 to 500, okay? And depending on if your city is a good city, they pay their bills on time, they don't get no serious legal problems, they don't get sued, they'll have a very high number, which means that their insurance premiums will cost to them less so that they can operate their city more inexpensively, okay? Now, the cities that just go out and get busted for everything with the kitchen sink, they're going to be closer to the 500 end, and their insurance policy is going to be considerably higher in terms of cost to take care of business. Now, they usually arrange to have what is called a blanket bond on all city employees. Usually it's a theft bond, so that if an employee gets busted for stealing or gets any kind of unethical thing going where they can be charged, that there's an insurance policy that covers the damages for that, okay? Now, in judges cases and prosecutors and other professional people, they're supposed to have a separate, individually gotten surety bond for them, promising that they will perform their duties in a proper and officious manner, okay? But what happens a lot of times is these judges and these prosecutors hide under the blanket employee bond, okay? So it's not readily available, and very few people end up accusing the judge of theft, you know what I'm saying? So the judges secretly hide under this bond that's the blanket bond for the city's theft, employee theft. Now, once you know that, and you can go in there and you can name the judge, you file a serious complaint. And it must be a sworn to complaint where you get it notarized, you know what I'm saying, where it's an affidavit against that judge. And then you try and collaterally attack the city's public bond under the theft bond. And there have been some serious successes in doing that. And then they just want to settle. They call you in the hall and they want to talk to you and see if we can't work this out. Because now, every time they have somebody make a complaint like that, your insurance, just like nowadays when you get a bunch of traffic tickets and next thing you know, you get a bill from the insurance company and it's an extra $1,200 for your insurance premium. You go, whoa, what happened here? Well, the state turned in your driving record to your insurance company. And now all of those speeding tickets and what have you and traffic violations all of a sudden now are on the books down at your insurance company, and they got this little guy that sits in the corner and he figures the actuarial fees on that, and now they figure to insure you they need an extra $1,200. Well, can you afford really to operate like that? Well, no, most people can't. Well, neither can these cities. So they don't want to have you making claims against those bonds, okay? So they try every way they can to hide that from you.
Is there a limitation on time to go back?
There's such thing as latches. Latches is a species of action or a party of reasonable intelligence and integrity having a right to take an action prescribed by law. You have to be timely and file the thing in a timely manner. Like, you can't wait 5 years and then all of a sudden go in and file. That's ridiculous. You have to do it reasonably timely and it's involved, you understand?
But what if you didn't know how to do that
well,
in a timely manner? So it's timeless.
Fraud. Fraud is not fraud until it's discovered, you see. And there is no statute of limitations on fraud. But from when you find out about fraud, you've got 3 years to file your complaint.
Okay. So, and then filing that, is that just a standard complaint you're filing, or what's the procedure for doing that to be able to attack their bond? Is there a procedure located somewhere where we could find it on the internet?
No. There's no such procedure. Each complaint is a custom complaint based on that party's involvement in something. There's no, this idea of using templates and just being able to change the names and the dates is just ridiculous. We have to have something, you have to have an original complaint that is your case. I recommend not to use these templates a lot because a lot of times these templates lead you down a path, and if you don't check it very carefully, you could have somebody else's complaint tied up with your complaint, and then it's like, well, this is all bogus.
Correct, because people don't change the names, they don't change the information that's in it. But I mean, is there a successful case somewhere to at least see an example as to how that was done?
There's all kinds of successful cases. My question is, can you sit down and write out, say, 3 pages of what actually happened? Can you do that?
Sure.
Okay. Now can we go to a law library and look up by catalog some of the charges that you made, the fraud or the grand theft or whatever, and are there statutes that apply to those particular charges? And then we go pull those actual statutes. Then we try and compare them to what you wrote down on the 3 pages, okay, of what happened to you. And then we make a comparison on what is actually stated in the law to see whether or not you can charge that exact statute. And that's how it's done. But it has to be meticulous, and it has to be respective of your actual case, because every time you look like you're just shoveling, these template complaints at them, they start realizing that, well, this isn't a serious complaint. We don't have to worry about this. This is ridiculous,
So there's nothing really attacking the bond. You're actually going after the public employee who's protected by the bond.
Yes, who is the one who didn't perform his duties like he swore he would. You see, people don't realize that when they walk up there and they raise their right hand, they're swearing that they will perform their duties to the best of their ability, so help them God, that they're going to protect your constitutional rights from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and when they don't do that, it's real obvious that they didn't do that. Because
Constitution Man is always my question whenever I'm listening to a lot of these, the calls and stuff, is a lot of people talk about how to do it, and my question is always, how did you do it successfully? That's always my question. How did you do it successfully? And if I know how you did it successfully, then I can emulate that and put it in my own way, like you said, and know that I have a better chance to be successful with it than just attempting to figure it out on my own.
Yeah,
That's what I did several years ago. I tried to figure things out on my own, and it didn't work.
Well, a lot of times what people do is they go to these meetings, and there'll be somebody there who's talking about a specific program that he may have been successful on, and he's handing out copies of his case, and see, the other people aren't skilled enough to know what is and what is not acceptable, and so they just copy his case and put their name in it. And see, almost always you're going to fall on your face doing that because you don't know what that other case was even about, see. And if some of the facts from the other case show up in your case, that makes it fine. But if some of the facts are totally unfactual, you just voided your complaint, you see. So that's very important that you don't get caught in that trap. But you'd be amazed how many people would just go to the meeting and they figure, you know, the price was right, it didn't cost me nothing, they just handed it out, and hey.
Yeah, when I started out in this arena, that's some of the things I did because I was right in the middle of some things. So, you know, I had to use what I found out and see how it worked. And some of it worked, and some of it didn't.
Yep.
And I learned the hard way on some issues, and just like the gentleman earlier who went through the court case, when I went through the court cases that I went through in the jail and everything else like that, my eyes and ears were always open to find out what are they doing, how's it going to benefit me, how's it not going to benefit me, and like him, I didn't give him my name, I didn't tell him anything, and they almost did to me what they did to him earlier, and when you talked about it, they tricked me and got some things from me, and I learned how they do a lot of trickery in courts and in the jails and with everything.
Try and pretend to be your friend, and hey, why don't you be reasonable here? We're going to let you out. All you got to do is sign this, you see.
Oh, yes. And they know how to trick when you're not aware.
All you got to do out of here is just sign this, and you're out of here, you know. Now, one of the tricks that we use a lot is we tell them, well, that's not really me. So if I sign that, I would be committing perjury. And that's not my Social Security number there. I don't have a Social Security number. It's against my religion. I believe it to be the mark of the beast. Chapter 18, verse 16 through 18. I believe that that is the mark of the beast, and I don't have one of those in my religion. Are you going to deny me my right to my religion?
I successfully used something similar to that, so. And he didn't want to go there. He asked this question a different way because he did not want to violate his oath to the Constitution, which is the First Amendment.
They send in the gal usually, and she's there to do. She'll have a bunch of papers and books in her hand, and one of the books she'll have in her hand is a book on psychology and psychiatry. Okay, and it's there to make a decision whether or not you are competent, you see. Or do you need to go for what is called a psychiatric evaluation?
And they sent me there.
Well, they do that a lot. They
sent me there. And actually, I pretty much psyched out the psychiatrist. So
first thing I asked the psychiatrist is, does he have an appointment? He said, what? I said, do you have an appointment? I only see people by appointment. And he goes, I'm the doctor. I don't care for the man from Glad. If you don't have an appointment, I don't see you. Did you call my gal and get an appointment? And he actually wrote that in the report that I required an appointment. I said, well, let me ask you, you see people by appointment? He goes, yeah. So people, when they want to come see you, they make an appointment, right? I said, yeah, so do I. What's the difference? That just shut him down. He couldn't believe that anybody would do that.
Yeah, the psychiatrist, when I went through it, he actually put in there that I attempted to take over the interview, which I didn't attempt to. I totally took over the interview. I asked him more questions than he ever thought he could ask me because I wanted things on the psych evaluation. But he told the court, he said, just please be aware that he will not cooperate. They were trying to see if I could actually go into court without an attorney and into trial.
I started asking him who his indemnifier was, and was he insured heavily for this position that he chose to take on, because I was going to sue.
See, I didn't know that back then. I was fairly new to courts and trials, and I'd never been through that before in my life.
They're squirming pretty bad when they think they're going to get sued, especially doctors. But at all times I was courteous and treated people with dignity and courtesy, and usually that determines you as different from normal people with their brains scrambled, who are clearly frustrated, who are clearly, aggravated, and basically are spewing profanity and other, I always treat everybody with great distinction and courtesy until they show me that you can't treat them like that. And see, that alone was my saving grace on a whole lot of cases, and I can tell you I got a whole lot further along by being courteous and treat people with dignity than I would have been a fancy, slick lawyer type, you know what I'm saying?
Well, just like you mentioned earlier, when I first went into the court process, this was back in 1999, I had never been through that before, and I had learned the redemption process from some guys. And I went in there, and that's how they arrested me. And I was going through the process, and I was really abrupt. I was upset. I was disrupting the court in different ways, and they were doing stuff to me that I thought was unconscionable. And then when I learned that doesn't get me anywhere, and I just changed my attitude to different things, and I just I remember watching the real kind of reveal my age a little bit. When I was a child, I used to watch Howdy Doody.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do at the court, and use the strings and control them one way or the other. And they just they treated me differently, and I started realizing, maybe there's a different way to handle this and still get to the result I want to get to. And that's how I eventually got them to dismiss the charges against me.
By staying calm and not yelling and not talking all kind of trash and over-talking the judge.
It becomes disruptive and it causes controversy. And I was told, do not create a controversy.
And to just work with the program. Well, can we work something out here? A lot of times you get a whole lot farther ahead.
And I did. I got out of there and I was done. And before I was doing that in that manner, and I used no attorneys. And I used no attorneys whatsoever. And just like Tammy Pepperman talks about representing. Well, when the judge asked me if I wanted to represent myself, I told him it's a violation of my religious beliefs to represent myself. And I don't think you want to violate my religious beliefs, do you? And he wouldn't go there.
Oh, no, because that's First Amendment. You can't violate
First Amendment. He didn't want to violate his oath of office, and so he just went by that, and eventually I didn't need an attorney, and I went through and did what I had to do. But
now you have that. They can't take that from you. See, you'll always have that. Unless you get into some real specific technical matter, you'll probably never need an attorney again.
I actually, several years later, because of fines, I made mistakes, and I ended up getting convicted with different things that actually should have been just removed, but I wasn't revealing anything. I wasn't participating in their whole system, and that's what I was doing at first. And when I went back for this fine, the commissioners and judges that knew me there, because I got to know almost every judge and every commissioner that was dealing with the cases like that, and I met so many different ones, that they weren't there the day that I went back.
Yeah, they got somebody
None
else.
of them were there.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll bring in a retiree that's from another area.
He brought in an attorney as a pro tem, and he had no idea why he was there. He had no idea why he was there. And actually, that was the day that I ended up using a closed account check to discharge my debt, and fortunately, eventually, it worked. I've never got it to work since, but it worked then.
Okay, all right.
But that's what they did.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it's not us attacking the actual bond, it's attacking the public employee who is protected by the bond, and the bond comes into issue at that point.
And their malfeasance, yes.
And their malfeasance and what they did.
Or their what Howard Griswold calls their failure to provide proper responsible.
Oh, the one thing while you're thinking about that, when they arrested me for the first time, and actually the third time I got arrested as well too. I didn't check the second time, but when I checked the documents, the commissioner who had me arrested the first time and the judge who had me arrested the third time, which when I went in to ask some questions one time, they arrested me. Both times they lied on their document that they signed to have me arrested of things that never existed.
Yeah. Well,
never ever existed. So they, like the gentleman earlier who got arrested, he needs to check, he needs to check the records in the sheriff's department or wherever that is that holds the records to see if there's any lies on the paperwork that the judge signed.
Right. You know what? The funny thing is, I went to, love this. I went to the sheriff's department, asked for a police report, because I was, brutalized, assaulted in the jail, and they listened to my whole story. What happened? Told them the whole story, and they said, well, we can't fill out a police report. I'm like, you're kidding me. And I go, who do I go to talk to about this? And they said, you need to see the county clerk. So the sheriff refused to take a police report on the incident while I was
make an affidavit. You file an affidavit in contravention to what they did, and you have the thing served on them, and they got 30 days to answer, otherwise plead. And if they fail to answer, otherwise plead, then yours is an admission of facts and evidence on the record, and they didn't counter your affidavit, so yours is true. Now, how can they possibly prevail?
Right. And I would send that affidavit into who? The county clerk or to the sheriff himself?
Whoever's involved, the sheriff, the clerk, whoever is involved in doing this record.
Well, okay, the sheriff then. Sure, I could copy the sheriff. I could copy the jail administrator.
Whoever put their names on those documents or whoever was involved, put their names on it, then you file your affidavit countering what they did and put that on the public record.
Right, the PO. It was a probation hold. So, okay, gotcha.
Well, that's what has to be done. Okay?
When you're saying put on the public, send it. You're talking recording it or just sending it into their.
I'm talking give them a copy, the one that did it, so that he knows that you're countering and or disclaiming his affidavit and countering his affidavit, and then file yours on the public record so that there is a record of what you said, and then let them try and deal with the lie.
Okay, on the public record.
Because they can either start telling the truth and start doing it right, or they can get charged with perjury.
Right. Okay, so the recorder, registrar of deeds, or just get it on the public record. Okay.
Now, does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay. Let's try and move on here so we don't totally hog the phone here, because she's got a serious program here, and I don't want to be hogging her whole phone.
Sure.
Let's charge on, and I respect your methods and your programming. That's the way I would have handled it also. That is the way to do it. Mm-hmm. That is the right way to do it. There's a right way and a wrong way. And you can't always go in with a chip on your shoulder and be belligerent. And if you got to be willing to listen. And when they start talking, you need to stop what you're doing, put your finger down where you left off on your little paper that you have for your organization of your presentation, your little outline. You take a step back. I tell my people, take a step back so that you don't flip off with some, I had one guy do that to me. He proceeded to go into the sailor's 4-letter swear manual, and he called the judge every single uncommon, no good, and then all of a sudden it got real quiet, and the old guy sitting next to me goes, uh-oh. The next thing I know, the judge's bailiff, take that gentleman into custody, and I use the term gentleman rather loosely, Well, the next time I ran into Hal was at the Pontiac State Hospital because he got put in for a psychiatric eval. I said, Hal, what are you doing? We didn't discuss any of that. Why would you do that? You ruined your chances. You just pissed that judge off. He said, well, I was going for the heart attack. Didn't you see how purple his face got? I says, yeah, well, it's going to take me 6 months to get you out of here. You're going to be in this booby hatch. They're going to be injecting, neglecting, selecting, and infecting you. You're going to be playing all kind of games with these shrinks, all because you wanted to do a comedy routine from Comedy Castle. Well, guess what, buddy? I'm going to pay hell getting you out. And this is Judge Sheehy. He doesn't screw around. And he took rather insult to what you said, So now I'm going to have to go and kiss his ass and see if I can just get him to reconsider and let you out because we're having a bad day at Comedy Castle, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it took me several months to get him out of that nut house. So sometimes people, they think they can just get up there and be comedy routine. And I'll be honest with you, I've done it too. But I can't stress enough that the court is not a place to joke around. It's not. I know a lot of people that go in there and they got a smart mouth and they joke around. They usually find out they're on the way, just like that guy, my cousin Vinny. He says, didn't I tell you the next time I see you to look lawyerly and you'd have a jacket on and a tie, you know? He says, you were serious about that? And the next thing you see him, he's on the jail bus going to the jail.
Right.
See, they do take it serious. That's what you need to understand. This is their whole life. They put great value on this. And when you go in there and talk trash, you know, they really take offense. And I know a lot of people find that hard to believe, but they do. And those people that continue to do stuff like that are going to find out you get to go on the jail bus, you know, to the jail. Because they're not going to fool with you. They're going to put you right in. So I always stress that people be deadly serious. And, hey, can we work this out? Let's just try and work this out. What do you think? You think we can work this out? What are the facts, you know? Well, here's the facts, Judge. I think we should just consider the raw facts of the matter. And if we consider the facts, this was an isolated incident, and it probably never would happen again because I think the guy has learned his lesson, you know what I'm saying? And I don't think he would ever do anything like this again. It was just an inadvertence, and he was in the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up getting arrested. He probably, if he'd have thought about it, he wouldn't have done that. You know, and next time, you know, there won't be a next time because he's learned his lesson. He's not going to go there again. You see.
Right.
And
We are,
actually gotten people out of jail talking just that calm and that patient. And the one guy, when he got out of jail that afternoon, the same day that he got thrown in, he says, man, you could sell ice boxes to Eskimos. I says, you're just lucky I know this judge, and he knows that I'm a straight arrow and that I go right by the book. And that I was able to offer him good explanation for your situation. And so he's letting you go. Now, do me a favor. Don't make me look like an asshole by going out and getting in more trouble. You know what I'm saying? I love that one movie where the guy says, how can I get these guys off my ass every time I turn around? And the lawyer yelled over the phone, quit reading the law.
Yeah, liar. That's liar, Jim Carrey.
Yeah. I think that should be required watching by every first-year law.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, because it's the truth, you know. And the bottom line is, we have to realize that these people got a job to do. It's not a pleasant job by any stretch. They get to see all of the bad, what have you, of society every day. You know, one of the highest suicide rates in the country is among lawyers. Because they feel like they're a failure. Because they're involved in all this shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? And that they're always on call. And they feel like a doctor all the time. An emergency, run, doggy, run. Jump, jump, jump. Hire, doggy, hire. And it's always some schmuck out here playing stupid games and he got caught. You know what I'm saying? So after a while, they don't feel like they're successful in their endeavor. They feel like I'm stuck in this job because now I got a $3,000 a month house payment and I got a wife and 6 kids, you know, and somebody's got to, I can't just quit this job and go back to school and take up something else, you know. And they got a law firm that has certain ways of doing things and they either play by the rules or they're out on the street. Open your own law firm, see how you like running the show, okay? So a lot of times people get trapped and then all of a sudden they're trapped, and then they feel trapped like a rat. And they don't always perform well under those particular criteria. As a matter of fact, sometimes they perform poorly. Because and I think police officers fall into that same thing. You got me in this dirty job. Hey, pal, nobody twisted your arm. You volunteered for this job. You know? So why you got this attitude, it's us and them. And we're just pigs, you know, and all this stuff. And
got a question.
Go for it. Yeah, let's get some questions going here so we can keep
with reference to contempt. All right? It's my understanding if you're charged with contempt, the man bringing the charge can't adjudicate the contempt. It's supposed to go to a different judge. But when we're looking in traffic court or these various courts, they just charge you with contempt, stick you in jail.
Well, it's the thing about contempt. First of all, there is certain things that are considered contempt flat out by what is called the fact that it happened, okay? The fact that it happened.
Disrupting the court, right?
Normally they have to give you at least 2 warnings of your particular contemptible activity that would, for them, before they can incarcerate you, okay? And usually you have to be warned, you know, I'll hold you in contempt. You'll hear the judge say that. I'll hold you in contempt. Well, that's one warning, okay? And if you keep up the same activity, you know, then the next time he drops a gavel, the bailiff is grabbing you and you're going. And I'll be honest with you, I've been right there a couple times. The judge asked me, was I an attorney? I said, certainly not. Attorneys are the lowest creatures that crawl in the face of God's green earth. And he went, I'm an attorney. And I said, well, you have a right to remain silent. You have a right to an attorney. You have a right to have your attorney present and question. Anything you say again won't be held against your court of law. You can't, for an attorney, want to be appointed by the court. Do you understand you have constitutional rights? And he goes, one more crack out of you and you'll be a guest of the state. I said, well, Your Honor, you did ask me to raise my right hand. You'd asked me to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. And by God, I told the truth. He goes, that'll do it. 30 days in the cooler. See, there's the 2 chances. See, he gave me a chance. And, of course, the bailiff did take me right to the jail, you know. And I'm sitting in the back there behind the courthouse. They have little jail rooms behind the court. And I'm singing, I'm going to sue, 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 down in my heart. In my heart. Down in my heart, I'm going to sue, 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 sue. And I have a rather deep voice, and it echoed through the cells. And it got to the court, and the people are all laughing. And the judge goes, what's he doing back there, bailiff? He say he's going to sue, sue, sue down in his heart, Your Honor. He's singing. And the judge says, you get that joker out here right now. So they brought me back out. Same judge, you know. He says, you see anybody else in here wearing a black robe? I said, well, no, sir, I don't. He says, that kind of means I'm the boss, huh? I said, well, yes, sir, it does. He says, and it's my job to keep order in the court. Isn't that right? Well, yes, sir, it is. He says, and I can't keep order in the court if everybody comes in here trying out their comedy castle routine. How can I? Well, probably not, Judge. He goes, so I'm going to tell you what. Today, I'm going to let you off light. But you ever come in here again and try this comedy routine on me, you're going, boy. You're going. Bring your toothbrush because you're going. You know. But they let me go. Well, then the people stood up and really cheered. Well, then it's order in this court, I'll clear this courtroom, you see. But the bottom line is, he was in. I'm the one that stayed calm. I'm the one that didn't get excited. I'm the one that didn't even break sweat. He's the one that had the heart attack, you understand? And see, if your enemy is reacting, you're winning. And I walked.
Now, is there any procedures for contempt, or do you just have to go find court cases?
Yeah, there are procedures. And you'll get usually contempt is non-reviewable, especially if he's warned you twice and you still kept it up. So if you get contempt for 30 days, you're going to probably do 30 days. So I recommend you just at all times be courteous and try. I'll tell you another secret. If you yell loud, he's going to yell louder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I find if he talks softer, then he has to listen more carefully, you see. I can't hear you. Speak up. You know?
Yeah, well, I had a judge, when I was in my particular situation, the judge was yelling at me, and I'm just sitting there, you know?
That's good. And just listen to everything he said. Well, then you can say, well, I understand where you're coming from, Judge, but the reality is I'm the only one here to defend me today. And if I don't defend myself, nobody else is going to defend me for me. So I'm here to be my own attorney.
Yep.
And I apologize if that upsets the court, but the bottom line is that's the way it is. I'm stuck. I have to defend myself. Somebody's got to defend me.
Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't like my paperwork.
Well, they don't like a lot of things, you know. But you know what? This is still these United States of America, and we still have what is called, supposed to be, your day in court. under the case of Haynes versus Kerner 404, it says, the test is not whether you're an attorney long school in the art and practice of law. The test is not whether you write magnificent legal briefs with excellent legal syntax and prose. The test is whether you got an opportunity to be heard and present your case in chief. And barring that, if you didn't get that, they denied you due process, and they got to start completely over again and do the whole thing over de novo. That's Title 5 U.S. Code, Section 706. Now you check it out, you'll see I'm right. The reality here is that you don't get your day in court to present your case in chief. You were denied due process. If you're denied due process, then you have a right to be reheard completely over again. De novo. Okay?
Yeah. Well, I think I got the judge so upset he finally threw me out of the courthouse saying that he was going to charge me with trespassing if I ever came back.
Yeah. Well, they don't want you to come back because then the other people listen. And see, after I beat the one case before this one judge, Ward, the very next guy got up there and he says, I'm not quite sure everything that gentleman just said before me, but I'd like to ditto everything on my case that he said on his. And he says, you didn't have no driver's license either. He said, well, no, Your Honor. He goes, all right, how many guys here didn't have no driver's license? Raise your hand. All the guys that raised their hand didn't have driver's license. Okay, get the hell out of here. You can all go. Well, that was the last time they let me go first. But boy, the people cheered. I will tell you, they did cheer. Because all of them got let go when they were looking at $1,000 fine and a year in jail. So they were pretty happy about that. But that was the last time they ever let me go first. Now, if I go in there, they hold me to the very last guy of the day.
Well, they do that to everyone now that brings in paperwork of their own.
Well, maybe that's a good thing and maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe they need to have a little time to think on this before they go off and do some half-stupid thing. Maybe they need to understand that maybe this is like the blood serum in your blood that actually turns to pus,
Mm-hmm.
but that causes the infection to be fought. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
We are the blood serum that's saving the patient because the patient was dying of cancer, if you understand.
Yep.
And for every one of you guys out there that's actually trying and doing something, you're actually the immune system for the whole country. And the more of you we have out here really trying and doing things, the more we have a chance of actually putting this back on track and getting our country back and our government back and our Constitution back. But it's going to take a whole lot more effort on everybody's part. And they have to be willing to make the effort. And I find a lot of the people are not willing to make the effort. This is the problem. They just want somebody to resolve their problem. They come to the meeting, they dump all of their garbage in somebody else's yard, and they hope that either they'll do it for nothing or they'll do it for dirt cheap money, because if they went to an attorney, he'd want $25,000, you see. So it's better to go to the Patriot meeting. And what's really sad is a lot of the times you help these people and you never see them again. They never come back to the meeting once they get their problem resolved, and that's sad. They should be really involved in the meeting now because they realize the importance of what the meeting is doing. It's making free men and women out of every single one in the sound of their voice, and they start to learn what is and what is not, serious Americana, what's acceptable, what's the law, what's the real law, what's the Constitution say. And so we're actually doing a public service the more we educate. I had this one gentleman, he was a phenomenal outlaw motorcycle gang guy, leader of the pack, Jack. I ain't kidding you. He came in and he beat the hell out of 8 of the sheriff's deputies right there in front of God and everybody. And they finally shot him with a taser and got him down, beat the hell out of him. And they threw him in with me. And so I'm sitting there talking to the gentleman, and I said, it's obvious you're a pretty bad dude there. I seen you wipe the floor with 8 of them big guards. I says, but you see how they do you? They shot you with a taser and got you down, and then they jumped you and beat the hell out of you. You can't win like that. Now, if you want to win, I can show you how to win. But you got to want to win, and you got to do it my way, or I won't help you. Now, if you're willing to do that, he says, Pops, I want to beat these guys in the worst way. If you can help me, I'll be forever in your debt. I said, okay, well, there's some things that we need to talk about. I says, First of all, you can't be cursing people and you can't be beating on people because that don't get nothing done. All that does is get you declared a belligerent and then they can jump you and beat the hell out of you. So we don't do that anymore. Is that clear? Well, yeah, okay. You agree to that. Okay. Second thing is, when you get out of here, I want you to go to the magazine shop out there and I want you to get up about 2 dozen of those beautiful swimsuit editions from Sports Afield. I want you to mail one to every floor in this jail. You see, them cops sit out there in them black helmets with them big nightsticks just waiting to come in and kick the hell out of everybody if they start fighting and getting all tense. Now, see, if guys are looking at beautiful girls, beautiful legs and butts and stuff, they ain't got time to get tense. So they're going to be mellow fellows. Some of the guys even hook back up with their wives that we're getting divorced from. The bottom line is they mellow out, so then these guys can't come in their black helmets and their big batons and beat the hell out of everybody. Even the sheriff noticed how calm the jail had gotten since those magazines had gotten mailed to every floor in the jail. Now, my guy, I trained him all night. I did his papers. I showed him how to do everything. He walked into court the next morning. Good morning, Your Honor. I'm so-and-so. I'm here in appropriate persona pursuant to Article 1, Section 13, Paragraph 5 of the 1963 Michigan Constitution, and I'm ready to proceed with my administrative and procedural matters. And at this time, Your Honor, may it please the court, I motion to quash, strike, dismiss, or otherwise summary judgment claims, fraudulent and spurious complaint, failure to state a cause of action upon which relief may be granted that the Michigan Court Rule 2.116, C, 8, and I'd like to collect my costs and fees from the defend this patently fraudulent and spurious complaint. May it please the court, and you shut up. The judge leans back in his chair. He goes, there couldn't be 2 of them jokers. Whole court busted out laughing. He says, Mr. Prosecutor, have you seen these documents before? And he goes, oh, yes, we've seen these documents before. We know exactly who did these documents, you know. Well, I'm going to have to let this guy go. He says, you guys screwed this case up bad. He says, no, I got to let this guy go. So he ordered the guy released. Well, then the guy comes back to the jail like Rocky, yelling, you did it, Pops, you damn well did it. Well, everybody knew who Pops was. That was me. Well, then the bailiff says, Pops, you ain't no lawyer. I told you can't help nobody. Now I got to throw you in the hole. I said, fine, you throw me in the hole. Go ahead. I'll just file a complaint for abuse of process and selective persecution and anything else I can think of, you know. But the bottom line is he did get out, and he did go and keep his word, and he sent those magazines into the jail, and everybody just calmed way down. There was no fighting. There was no need for the gang squad to come in with their black helmets and beat everybody up with their big sticks. And the sheriff was very upset about that, because he liked his cops to go in there and kick ass, you know what I'm saying? So he told me when I got, he says, Pops, I don't ever want you to come back here. He says, I don't want you to come back to my jail. I says, hell, you ain't got no dancing girls, you ain't got no bar. I ain't never coming to this hotel again. How'd you ever get a rating anyway? You know, and he says, good. He says, I never want to see your face at my door, you know. And, I mean, I just drove them guys nuts. I wrote complaints every damn day, you know. I mean, I could tell you such tales, you'd just be in tears laughing. But I drove that poor sheriff nuts. I mean, I fixed his law library for him. I cataloged the whole thing, put it up. He brought me to the law library and dumped me in this room with 25,000 books in the middle of the floor, just dumped upside down in boxes, and I put it all up on the shelves. Freaked him right out. He goes, you've done this before, huh, Pops? I said, uh-huh. He goes, oh, shit, now I got to let everybody go to the law library. Then I fixed his computer so you could call out to all of the serious legal colleges that teach law in this country, and people could use the actual librarians and the people, the students at the various law schools, Harvard, all of them. I got them all online on the computer, and guys were calling up these law schools and getting them to do their briefs. Well, then the sheriff goes, how are these guys getting all these briefs? Well, they're going on the computer. They call up the Harvard University, and them students will do their briefs for nothing. Well, that's going to end real quick. He took his scissors and cut the wire right off the computer. So, I mean, he wanted me gone. And when I left there, you know, I took my harmonica out and I started playing the whole damn crew on the first floor stood up. Yay, Pops. Sock it to him, Pops, you crazy old man, you know. And the bailiff says, you better get the hell out of here, Pops, or they're going to throw you back in a cell here for disorderly conduct. I says, you don't have enough hair on your ass to put me back in one of this sheriff's cells. He would gut you with a dull deer antler, you know what I'm saying? He says, you're probably right, so just get the Frank out of here now. Go, go, go. I don't want to have to write up an incident report. I says, he'd break all your fingers if you did. Anyway, they don't like it when they run into pops. They don't like it. But I earned that over 44 years of battling. I mean, it's actually no fun anymore because I can't even get a ticket. They would not give me a ticket for nothing. I've actually told the cop, I'll make you famous. Come on, we'll go to the Supreme Court. I'll even pay your hotel room. No, my boss told me don't give me no ticket. He don't want you owning the whole town. You know what I'm saying? For God's sake, don't give that guy no ticket. You could hear him yelling that over the radio 2 cars back, you know. For God's sake, don't give that guy no ticket. But see, I earned that. Now, what I'd like is everybody else to go out and earn it also, you see. And when that happens, you're going to see a big change in this country. You're going to see a lot of this abuse goes right out the window. You're going to see a lot of these officers performing to the best of their ability like they're supposed to anyway. Okay? Now, is everybody up for the game? The ball's been served. You want to play? You got to keep the ball in the air now. How are we going to keep the ball in the air? You go out tomorrow and you do the same thing I did. And tell your friend and your friend's friend and his friend the same damn thing. Let's get the game going here. We'll play some serious hard ball here. And then all of a sudden you're going to see change. But you're not going to see change if nobody does nothing. You understand that, right?
Yep.
You can't just sit there with your thumb in your tail and talk crap. You got to deliver. And everybody has to be willing to do their part. Not one guy do it for everybody. Because there ain't enough hours in a day for me to do everybody's. I can't do everybody's. Right now I'm jumping through my ass trying to keep just a couple of 100 clients out of jail, okay? And I'm working night and day to do that. Now, if everybody would just do their own and start, you know, it would be a whole lot easier. Then all I have to do is call up the computer and send the files over, and then boom, they're running, you see. Now, that's the ideal plan. But you got to get people willing to do their part.
It takes a lot of study, and you can't just, you know,
committed.
Start writing. But you get experience from doing. So you do have to take a leap at some point, put that first step foot out there and try, at least. And then you get experience and wisdom from that. And you do it again, and so on and so forth.
If you teach the guy to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. If you just give him a fish, you only fed him for today. So the idea is to hand out the teaching and then hope they run with it, and then they don't need anybody to give them a fish tomorrow because they know how to get their own fish, you see.
Right. Exactly. And with that, I have to end the call. We've gone 2 hours and 37 minutes. My son is yelling at me in the background.
Yeah, okay.
He's hungry.
I appreciate inviting me on. I do. I appreciate having a chance to be a part of this serious work. Because it is
we love you coming on. Are you kidding me? I love having you on. You're just so full of information and gosh, it just rolls off your tongue beautifully like that. No. I love having you on, and I don't care what anybody else says. But I think everybody else loves having you on too. We had a good call. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time and energy. Are you feeling okay now?
Okay, I'm okay. I'm doing good. I just got to watch how much I do it. If I do too much in a row, then I got problems. Then I got to listen to the doctor yell. But if I just a little here and a little there, just so I use good judgment. It's like anything else. You put too much salt on your food, you get sick,
Rocco is saying he wishes he could move in with you and be your assistant. He would do it in a heartbeat.
The only problem is trying to keep up with me. That would be the killer. And every young guy that I've had young guys going, how do you do this, you crazy old man? I'm falling asleep on my feet here, and you're still going and ready to go again tomorrow. I mean, geez, oh God. I've had a lot of young guys that thought, and then they get to thinking, he goes, that is a bad old man.
You're driven.
I think, I'm a hustler. I work. I am committed. I am absolutely driven to get this job done, to get it done, and to get it done intelligently, rationally, and right by the book.
And help as many people as you can.
How can I get a question to you?
Well, send it to Angela, and she'll make sure I get it. But
You know, how to follow.
What are we doing? What are we doing? What?
we have to do this intelligently. You get the question to Angela, and she'll make sure I get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you send me an email, and I'll forward it to Constitution Man.
It's a safe
Thanks, Angela.
Okay.
You're welcome. Just put in the subject line, please forward to Constitution Man.
Okay.
And then I can, spot it quickly.
Okay? All right, God
Thank
love
you
you
so
guys.
much. God bless you. Take care of yourself, and hopefully we'll see you next Thursday.
Great job,
And everybody, have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, Carl. God bless you. We love you. Thank you, Rocco, for coming on and sharing your story, and everybody else that came on. Thank you so much.
Good night now.
I love you.
Take care of yourself.
See you next
I love
time.
you too. Take care.
Love you too, Ann.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.